Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the full stack personality rating app application in React Native using the Expo framework. So in the previous part, we went ahead and then built a lot of features, mostly regarding the front end part. That is, we already set up the onboarding part, that is all of the screens for onboarding, and the backend, nothing is set up as of now. So in part 2, it is going to be mostly related to the code, that is, we're going to write for the backend, and in the later part of part 2, we're going to integrate all of the APIs that we have done so that everything is going to work properly fine. So first of all, let's get started with the backend part. And if you find this interesting, please hit the like button and do subscribe for more such content. So first of all, let's do the MongoDB Atlas setup. That is, you need to get that Mongo URI for the connection. Head over to Chrome and then search for MongoDB. So head over to mongodb.com. Let's press on sign in over here. And I'm going to log in with Google. So after signing in, it would, take you back to the initial homepage. That is going to look something like this. Okay, so this is the last use project, so there is chance. I'm going to drop down. I'm going to press on drop down and then I'm going to press on view all project, and here let's go ahead and then create a new project. So press on new project over here. I'm going to say chance dating. Let's write that properly. And let's press on next. So as you can see, I myself am the project owner. That's my email. Let's press on create project. Okay, so there you go. Our project has been created. Now the next step is to create a cluster. Let's go ahead and then press on the create button. So yeah, make sure you're on the free version of the cluster. So let's scroll down over here. And yeah, apart from that, I'm going to leave everything as default and then I'm going to press on create deployment. So this should take in about a couple of minutes. Okay, it's done, I guess. We just need to create the database user as well as the password so that we can log in to this project. I'm going to just enter my name, and the password also is going to be my name for now. You can enter a strong complex password, and let's press on this create database user, and I'm going to press on choose a connection method. So since we are using VS Code, let's go ahead and then press on the third option, and boom, that's your MongoDB connection URI. We're going to use this in just a bit. So apart from that, let's create our backend folder. So onto the root level, I'm going to say backend. So next we're going to say cd backend, and then we're going to initialize that file, that is package.json. For that, I'm going to say npm init -y -y. That's how we're going to initialize it. Enter. So there you go. It should be initialized within your backend folder. That is just like this. As you can see, that's looking good. So next step is to install all of the dependencies that we're going to use for the backend. So as I explained earlier in the intro part of the video, we're going to use the NestJS for writing all of the backend code and the APIs. So I'm just going to paste in the code for all of the dependencies that we're going to use. You can try to take a look at it. So it's going to be yarn add NestJS common, NestJS config, NestJS core, NestJS JWT, NestJS mongoose, that is for the schema part, your platform express, platform socket IO for the chatting, WebSockets and bcrypt, class transformer, class validator, JSON web token, mongoose, reflect metadata, and RxJS, socket IO as well as tsconfig paths. Let's press on enter. So all of these dependencies should be installed and stored within the package.json that is within the dependencies object. So yeah, let's wait for this to complete. Let's give that a try. So there you go. We do have all of these items installed, which is good. Let's also try to install the dev packages. So I'm going to install all of these. Control V. Okay, so yarn add -d. This is for the types bcrypt as well as the types JSON web token. Let's press on enter. This step is done. So since we're using TypeScript for writing the backend code, we need to create the tsconfig.json and we need to apply the settings as well. So onto the backend, create a new file, tsconfig.json. You can try to add all of these options. Okay, let's try to save this file. This part is done. Now the next step is to upgrade the scripts that are present within the package.json. So these are the default scripts. We need to add our scripts, that is how to start, how to run, and whatnot. Okay, so we have start dev, then start, build is going to be this thing, and test was there already previously. So format once and save the file. Okay, so now the next step is to create the nodemon.json. That's very important. Okay, so whenever we make a change within the src folder, automatically it should reload the app or reload the backend folder for any changes, and it should give the results correctly. So I'm going to add this, that is watch, it's going to be src folder, execute TypeScript, exec command is going to be this one. Let's try to save the file. So now the next step is your MongoDB connection. So we're going to create a src folder within the backend. So let's go and do that. So src over here, and within the main src we're going to have two main files, that is app.module.ts as well as the main.ts. So I'm going to say app.yourmodule.ts, and we're going to say your main.ts. So if you're not familiar with the NestJS syntax, you can check it out on Google. That is how exactly it's going to work out. And then you can come back and look at the code. It would be familiar, right? And once you start, building projects with that, automatically as you build more projects, you should be familiar with how the syntax is going to work with NestJS. Yeah, so on the channel, we are using it for the first time because previously we were using normal Node.js. This time we're going to use the NestJS. So now let's go ahead and then start writing all of the modules. That is what exactly each module is going to do. We're going to have 4 modules, basically your auth module, your user module, your match module, as well as your chat module. First of all, since we need to implement the onboarding part of the implementation, let's go ahead and then let's start designing your auth module. So there's nothing called as design, my bad. So we just need to start writing different code and endpoints. That is basically the implementation code for your send OTP, verify OTP, refresh endpoint, and your OTP expire. Okay, so I'm going to say src, create a new folder that is going to be auth, and let's create our first module that's going to be your auth.module.ts. Okay, so before moving further, first of all, let's understand what is a module in NestJS. Okay, so in simple terms, a module is like a folder that organizes a feature. So in our auth module, we're going to have the auth logic, all of your auth APIs, your OTP schema, as well as the JWT setup as well. So let's get started. So first of all, you're going to use the user module over here. Okay, so before moving on to the user module, let's first of all actually define the schema that is going to be your otp.schema.ts file, because we need to write the code for that user module so that we can import that within the auth.module.ts file. Yeah, first of all, let's get into the schema part. I'm going to say new file again, and as I said, within the auth module itself, all of the functionalities related to auth is going to be present. So I'm going to say otp.schema.ts. So here we're going to say export type your OTP document is going to be equals to OTP and your document, and document. So this document is going to be coming from Mongoose. Let's import that. I'm going to say import. Sorry, my bad, document. From Mongoose. Okay, and your OTP. Okay, so for OTP you're going to define a specific class. So before that, I'm going to say add schema over here. That's how we use this. Okay, here I'm going to say timestamps are going to be true. So initially you might face difficulties in writing the code because even I'm pretty new to the syntax, but once you get a hang of it, you might write the code pretty fast, right? So here I'm going to say export class OTP. Okay, and here I'm going to say add prop. This is a required field. So I'm going to say required is going to be true. That is the phone. That is going to be of type string. Okay, so this prop is going to come from the NestJS. Copy that down. So I'm just going to import everything just like this. Okay, so apart from that, I'm just going to copy this down a couple of times and then make the changes. That is for all of the types that you're going to have. Format once. Okay, next one is going to be for the code expires at. So here I'm going to say code. Here I'm going to say expires at. Next we're going to have used. Okay, we're going to have string, date, and then boolean for expired at. This is going to be a boolean, true or false, and save the file. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now let's go ahead and then define the schema for the users. So I'm going to say user folder for this. It's going to have user.module.ts as well. So user dot your module.ts as well as your user dot schema.ts file. So again, similarly onto the top, I'm going to define all of these things, import statements, save the file, and let's start to define our value. Yeah, so here I'm going to say export type user document is going to be equals to user and document. Let's define the type that is user. So I'm going to say add schema. Your timestamps is going to be true. Okay, here I'm going to say export class. This is going to say user. Here I'm going to say add prop. Required is going to be true. Unique also is going to be true. Okay, so the name is going to be phone. Type is going to be string. Copy this on a couple of times. You can remove unique as true. Okay, next thing we need is the user's name. That is going to be name over here. So yeah, copy this on a couple of times and then let's make the change for the remaining values. Format. So apart from name, we're going to have the age and gender. So make that change, age. Here we are going to say gender. Okay, name, age, gender. Then bio relationship goals. Bio relationship goals or relationship goal. Everything is going to be string except age. Age is going to be of type number. Make that change over here. Apart from that, that is after your relationship goal, we're going to have personality traits, interests, has photo key. I think these two are not required. Location and is onboarded. These are the last three things. And at the bottommost part, we're going to export it. So I'm just going to add the code for the remaining part. That is right from the top. You can take a look at it if at all you've missed something. So these are all of the required things for the user schema.ts file. I think we have forgotten to export in the OTP schema. Let's check that out. Yeah, I just missed out. So here I'm going to say export const OTP schema is going to be equals to your schema factory dot create for class of your OTP. Alright, save the file. This is done. Now next, let's try to write the controller file for the auth. So that's going to be auth.controller.ts file. So I'm going to say auth.controller.ts. So this controller is basically your auth API layer. It defines the endpoints your mobile app basically is going to talk to, right? So you can think of it like a controller that receives requests, sends them to a service. So even we need to write the auth service as well. So yeah, this is a controller in Next.js that we're going to write. So it's going to have different endpoints like send OTP, verify OTP, and refresh, something like that. So let's understand each of them and then let's start to write all of the code for this. So first of all, let's try to define the class that is send OTP. That is going to be in the form of a data transfer objects. Okay, so onto the top over here, I'm going to say class send OTP DTO. I'm going to say at is string. This is going to come from the class validator basically. Okay, and this is going to be with respect to the phone, that is going to be of type string. I'm going to import all of the required things over here in this specific screen. Okay, so after that's done, let's try to define it similarly for the verify OTP. I'm going to say class verify OTP. Again, add is string. And here I'm going to say OTP is going to be of type string. Okay, so yeah, I think I messed up the previous part. It's going to also have the phone as well. for OTP. So let's add that as well. This is going to be phone, because for verify OTP we need two things, that is the original phone number as well as the OTP to match. Next is the refresh DTO. So I'm going to say class refresh DTO. Here I'm going to say add is string. Okay, and here I'm going to say refresh token is going to be of string. Okay, so now let's try to write the controller definition. So that's going to be written like this: add controller of auth. Okay, so now all the routes are going to start with /auth and /something. So let's write that. So here I'm going to say controller auth, and here I'm going to say export class auth controller. Here I'm going to say constructor private. I'm going to say auth service of type auth service. I think we should have written that file first. Okay, that is the service file, because then only we can import it over here. So yeah, next let's try to have in all of the different types, that is send OTP, verify OTP, as well as the refresh. So all of them is going to be obviously a post method. Okay, so first of all I'm going to say add post. First one, send OTP. Okay, here I'm going to say send OTP of add body. So here the body is going to be basically your send OTP DTO. Okay, here I'm going to say return this dot your auth service dot send OTP of your body dot phone. Alright, similarly I'm just going to copy this down for the remaining things. Let's make the changes. Let's format once. So send OTP is done. We're going to have verify OTP. So verify OTP, then we're going to have refresh. Okay, let's make the changes. Here it should be verify OTP DTO. Let's change that correctly. Next, here it's going to be your refresh DTO. That's pretty much it. So let's try to save the file. So we need to make the changes for the body returning as well, the data basically. So it's going to be body.phone, comma your body.otp for the second one. This one should be body.your refresh token. Okay, that's pretty much it. Let's try to save the file. Let's first of all go ahead and then define the auth service file. So it's basically going to be auth.service.ts file. Pretty simple. So auth service.ts. Okay, so let's understand what exactly it's going to happen over here. So your service is where all the business logic lives. So your controller is just going to forward the request, but all of the main implementation is going to happen over here. Alright, so first of all I'm going to import all of the required things that we might use over here in the auth service file, except this one, because as of now user service is not ready. So import all of these. Okay, so first of all we're going to use something known as a injectable. So this basically connects to the MongoDB OTP collection. So we're going to say add inject model of OTP.name. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to say add inject model of, or we're just going to write inject model over here, and here I'm going to say export class. It's going to say auth service, and here I'm going to make use of a constructor. So this basically is going to be called as the constructor dependency injection. So what basically you get, so the dependency is going to be your OTP model, and the purpose is DB access for OTP, and your user service, it helps in all of user operations, and we have the JWT service as well, that is going to be helpful in the token generation part. So let's go and then write all of the things that we just spoke. So here I'm going to say inject a model of your OTP.name. Okay, here I'm going to say private, and your OTP model is going to be model of your OTP document. Okay, next we're going to have your private, This is going to be the second one that we discussed, that is user service. It is going to be user service over here. So we need to define both of them. So that's the reason it's currently erroring out. So private, your JWT service. Here it's going to be your JWT service. So we can import the JWT service from your NestJS. It's already imported. Okay. User service, you need to write the code for that. So before that, let's try to write the implementations for your send OTP, verify OTP, as well as the refresh. So yeah, below this constructor itself, you're going to have that implementation. I'm going to say async send OTP. It's going to have two things as a parameter: phone, that is going to be of type string. Okay, here I'm going to say promise. It's going to have a message of type string. Okay, here first of all, we're going to delete any existing OTPs for that specific phone. For that reason, I'm going to say await this dot your OTP model dot, we have delete many option, use that with respect to the phone, delete all of the existing OTPs. Now next step is to generate a 6-digit OTP. I'm going to say const code is going to be equals to math.floor. I'm going to get the code for that, and I'm also going to have the code for expires at. So that's how you generate that 6-digit OTP, and then how to expire it as well. So format over here. So once that's done, the next step is to create that OTP. So next step is to create that OTP with the help of the OTP model. So for that, I'm going to say await this dot OTP model dot create method. This in turn is going to take in your phone, your code, as well as your expires at. Okay, so once that's done, you can try to log it as well. That's actually important because we're going to see the code in the console format. Okay, save the file. Once that's done, let's move on to the next one. That's for the verify OTP. We can write that here itself. So async verify OTP. Your phone is going to be of type string. Your code also is going to be of type string. Here I'm going to say const OTP is going to be equals to await this dot OTP model dot find one. Here I'm going to say phone, code, used is going to be false, expires at is going to be over here greater than your new date. Okay, so yeah, this step is done. So now first of all, let's try to check if at all not of OTP. If not of OTP, then here I'm going to say throw new. We do have that bad request exception, import that from NestJS common. Here I'm going to say invalid or expired OTP. Okay, so yeah, that part is done. The next one is going to be, we're going to mark the OTP as used once it is used. So here I'm going to say OTP.use. OTP.used is going to be equals to true. And here I'm going to say await your OTP.save. Okay, this is done. Now the next step is find or create the user. Here I'm going to say let user is going to be equals to await this dot your user service dot find by phone of your phone. Next I'm going to say const is new user is going to be equals to user, because this is a new user that we're going to create after the OTP is verified. Okay, so if not of user, we're going to create a new user with the help of this format once. Okay, once that's done, let's try to generate the payload. I'm going to say const payload is going to be equals to sub, that's going to be user dot underscore id dot toString, comma your phone is going to be your user dot phone. Okay, let's also try to generate two more things, that is your access token as well as a refresh token. So const access token is going to be equals to your this dot JWT service access that, and I'm going to say sign of that specific payload. Okay, in the payload we are trying to access the user ID as well as the phone. Next is going to be for the refresh token. Let's go and then write that as well. So const refresh token is going to be equals to this dot JWT service dot sign of your payload comma expires in, this is going to be 30 days. Next, similarly, I'm just going to return all of these to the front end part. So let's add it over here. Format once and save. That's pretty much it. Now let's write it for the final part. That's going to be your refresh token. So over here, I'm going to say async refresh token of your refresh token. That's going to be of type string. We're going to have a try catch block. So try catch of error, or we can directly try to write it. Throw new unauthorized error or unauthorized exception invalid refresh token. Okay, within your try block, I'm going to say const payload is going to be equals to this dot JWT service dot verify of your refresh token. Const user is going to be equals to await this dot user service dot find by ID of your payload dot sub. Okay, here I'm going to check if not of user, then throw new unauthorized exception. Okay, next let's try to generate the new payload. I'm going to say const new payload is going to be equals to sub, that is going to be equals to user dot underscore ID dot toString comma your phone is going to be equals to user dot phone. Okay, here let's return the new values, that is access token, that is just like this. Let's try to format once. Alright, so we're done with this part, that is your auth.service.ts file. So we need to implement a couple of things, that is user service, and we need to fix those issues. Let's do that. So let's go and then write the code for user service, and also we need to write the code for your auth.module as well. Okay, that's also empty. So here whatever services we're using, we're just gonna include that and then we're gonna make it work. Alright, yeah, so first off, as I said, let's come back to user. I'm gonna say new file user.service.ts. So user.service.ts, enter. Okay, so this is done. And over here, yeah, let's again write similarly the code as you've written for the auth service. So here onto the top, first of all, let me import all of the required things. Okay, so I'm just gonna add it over here. You can take a look at it. So we're gonna use all of these within this particular service. So again, I'm gonna say add injectable. Okay, use that method, and here I'm gonna say export class user service. Here I'm going to say constructor add inject model of your user.name. Okay, here we're going to say private user model user document. So this inject model is going to connect to your MongoDB collection as we described earlier, and your model is going to perform all of the DB operations, and your types is is going to work with the MongoDB object field. Okay, so here first of all we're going to start writing our method that is going to be find by phone. So let's go ahead and then do that. So here I'm going to say async find by phone. So this basically as it says, finds the user by phone number. It's going to be pretty simple. So this is going to take in a phone of type string. So I'm going to say phone a string, and here we're going to say promise user document or null. Okay, so here I'm going to say return this dot your user model dot find one of your phone. Okay, that's how we're going to implement this functionality. Next, similarly, we need to implement it for the find by ID. So here I'm going to say async find by ID. This is going to be of type string, and here I'm going to say promise of your user document or null. Alright, here again similarly return this dot your user model dot your find by ID of that specific ID. Okay, next is going to be for your create user. So what does this do? It is just going to create a new user and only phone initially. It's going to use that and it is going to save it to the DB. Alright, so here I'm going to say async create user of your phone, that is going to be of string promise user document. Okay, so const user is going to be equals to new this dot your user model of your phone. Okay, here I'm going to say return user dot save. Alright, that's pretty much it. So next we're going to have it for the update user, and we're also going to write the functionalities for get discover profiles. So here I'm going to say async update user. So for updating, we need the data that is going to be updated and the ID of that specific user. Okay, so ID is going to be string, data is going to be a partial of type user. Again, similarly, it's going to be a type promise user document or null. Okay, and over here again similarly return, I'm going to say this dot user model dot find by ID and update. It's going to be ID, and here I'm going to say $set, that is going to be data. Alright, and new is going to be true obviously, and I'm going to say run validator, set it to be false, and return document after. Okay, so that's it. Let's format once. So once that's done, we have the final step. Yeah, I think I forgot to add the exec over here. So after this, we're going to say dot exec. Okay, yeah, that's good. So apart from that, next one is going to be for the get discover profiles. That's the final step. So here I'm going to say async get discover profiles of your current user ID, that is going to be of type string, and here I'm going to say promise of any. Alright, so this function that is get discover profiles is going to power up your dating app feed. That is, once you create a user and then log into the main screen, it is going to show all of the profiles, that is other profiles that are created or logged into the application. So yeah, step one is going to be to query the users. So let's go ahead and then do that. So I'm going to say const users is going to be equals to await this dot your user model dot find by underscore ID $NE is going to be new types and object ID of your current user ID. Okay, and over here I'm going to say is onboarded is going to be true, and name over here I'm going to say $NE, that is going to be empty string. Okay, and furthermore I'm going to say dot select. So dot select of that is over here. I'm going to pass in a couple of keys. That is going to be your phone, that is going to be your photo key. Actually, we're not using this as of now, you can skip that value. Okay, so is that's it. So what this select does is it's basically gonna remove the phone, photo key, as well as the MongoDB version. So it's basically gonna hide your sensitive fields, so we're not gonna get that to the data. Next one is gonna limit the results. I just want to get the first 20 cards if at all we have that. So I'm gonna say dot limit of 20 and dot lean. Okay, that's it. And here we're gonna return all of the users with the data. So I'm just gonna do that over here. So this is how it's going to look like. So we are done with your user service. Okay, so now the next step is let's also quickly finish writing the user module as well. So I'm going to say user new file user.module.ts. okay, it's already there. Let's remove that. So let's understand what exactly happens within all of these files, that is your module files. So a module groups everything related to users, that is database, service, your controller, all of the things in a single file. So let's understand that and then let's start to write it over here. Okay, so first of all we need to include the module. So let me just get all of the required things that we're going to import onto the top. So I'm just going to write it over here just like this. I think controller is not yet added for this. We're going to add that in just a bit. So here I'm going to say add module. Over here I'm going to say imports. So we have something called as your mongoose module.for feature. So I'm going to say mongoose module.for feature. So here we're going to have the name, that is going to be your user.name, and your schema, we need to define that is going to be your user schema. Okay, this further is going to take in the providers, that is which service we are referring to. So pass on the providers, that is going to be your user service, and exports, that is going to be your user service as well. So as you can see, this file is already defined, so just try to import that correctly. Next we're going to have for the next one, or we can directly try to add the controllers itself over here. Okay, instead of writing it one more time, I'm just going to say controllers, that is going to be your user controller. Yes, that is not yet written, we're going to write that in just a bit. So user controller, and we can directly try to export this class. Okay, so I'm going to say export class your user module, just like this. Okay, add a comma over here. So once we have written this code, that is for user controller, we can come ahead and then we can import this. So let's save the file. So yeah, this part is done. So once that's done, let's go ahead and then write the user controller as well. It's pretty simple, and then we can move on to the auth part. So here I'm going to save within the user controller.ts, user.controller.ts. all right, add controller, import that correctly. This is going to be with respect to user. Here again, export class, I'm going to say user controller. Here let's try to have the constructor. I'm going to say constructor private user service of type user service. Import that correctly. Okay, here let's try to use the guards. Here I'm going to say add use guards. Import that from NestJS common. Here we're going to use that JWT auth guard. So it's going to be coming from the common guard as well as the JWT.guard. So yeah, let's just try to import all of these things. I think there is some issue with the installation. Yeah, let's look into that later. Okay, so here we're going to use that auth guard, and let's start to implement the and let's write the implementation for onboarding. It's going to be a post method. I'm going to say add post. I'm going to say onboard. Okay, here I'm going to say async onboard. at request. Okay, here request is gonna be any. At body is gonna be any as well. Here you can try to do the logging, that is onboarding payload as well as the user ID. I'm just gonna get the data for that, so you can try to take a look at it. Okay, not over there, within the brackets. Okay, this step is done. So here I'm gonna say const age is gonna be equals to your parse int of your string, okay, of your body dot age comma 10. So here I'm gonna check if not of your body dot name or is none of your age. Then over here I'm gonna say throw new bad request exception and pass on the value, that is name and age are required. Okay, next let's try to create the result over here. Below this I'm gonna say const result is gonna be equals to, I'm gonna say await this dot your user service dot update user of your request dot user dot your sub. Okay, so here let's pass on the name, that is gonna be string of your body dot name dot trim. Apart from that age, apart from that gender, apart from that bio, string of your body dot bio. No value exists in scope for shorthand property gender. Okay, my bad, we have not written for both of them. Okay, for age is not required, for gender is going to be your type of string, that's the reason it's erroring out. So string of your body dot gender. Okay, apart from that we're going to have your relationship goal. This is going to be your string of your body dot your relationship goal or empty string. Next we're going to have it for the personality traits, interests and is onboard, we're going to set it to be true. Okay, so just like this, let's format the document once. And yeah, once that is done, here I'm going to say console.log. I'm going to say saved. It's going to be result.name comma result.age. Okay, return result. And at the bottommost part I'm just again going to say use cards. So add use cards of your JWT auth card. I'm going to say add, it's going to be get of me. Here I'm going to say async get me, so this is to get the user's own profile. Here I'm going to say add request. Request is going to be any. It's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to say return your this dot user service, access that, and we're going to say dot find by ID of your request dot your user dot sub. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's try to save the file. For some reason I'm not sure why exactly it's coming like this. It says cannot find module common guards. Let's see if at all we have installed that package JWT. Yeah, it is there, NestJS JWT. And let me verify my project file if at all any extra dependencies is added. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Everything looks to be fine. JWT is there, core is there, config, and then common. Yeah, I think we are good with this. Let's look into that later if at all any other issues come up. So yeah, let's move on to the auth.module.ts and then let's write the code for that. It's already there, and here I'm just going to get in all of the import statements onto the top. So yeah, over here I'm going to say add module we are going to say imports. Here we are going to say user module comma jwt module dot register, and I'm going to say global is going to be true, and your secret key, you can pass on any secret. I'm just going to add a normal random secret over here. You can try to add your own secret with a stronger key basically, and I'm going to say sign options expires in, I'm going to say 7 days. Okay, so once that's done over here, I'm going to say your mongoose module dot again for feature. So your name is going to be your OTP dot name. Okay, and your schema is going to be your OTP schema. Okay, and over here I'm going to say controllers, it's going to be auth controller, and providers, it's going to be your auth service. Okay, and here, yeah, we are almost done. We can just directly try to say export class auth module. Okay, so this part is done. I think there is some syntax issue over here. I'm just going to fix that over here. Okay, so there you go. So this part is fixed. Let's try to format once. You can take a look at the code right from the starting point once again. Save the file as well. Okay, it was just a bracket issue fix. So yeah, this part is done. So we are done with 2 modules. You can go ahead and then include, or you can go ahead and then integrate this as well. So I'm going to create a new folder onto the root level, and then I'm going to create your api.ts file. That's important. And over there we're going to write the code for that. So yeah, onto the front end part, or in the same file structure itself, lib is already there. I'm going to say new file api.ts. Over here in this file, we're going to write the code in such a way that it connects your React Native app to our backend and handles the authentication automatically, basically your tokens part as well as the refresh part. Okay, so we're going to have a custom Axios instance. Let's first of all create that. That's the first step, and we have already installed your Axios. So here I'm going to say export const API is going to be equals to axios.create. Import Axios from Axios. Okay, my bad, not installed, I guess. To the backend, okay, or to the front end, I'm going to say yarn add Axios, enter. Yeah, I think it's installing now. Let's import it now, or let's do it manually. Import Axios from Axios. So axios.create method, let's create a instance. Base URL is going to be your API URL. Import that from constants file. Timeout is going to be 10,000. Headers, I'm going to say content type application JSON. Okay. So yeah, once that's done, now the next step is we need to attach the tokens to every request. That's important. So for that, we're going to make use of the interceptors, that is Axios interceptors. I'm going to say API dot your interceptors dot request dot use of async config. Let's add that. And over here, I'm going to say const token is going to be await your secure store. Let's go ahead and then import the secure store first. So here I'm going to say secure store dot. We do have the get item async of your access token. So get that token and then attach it to the API request. I'm going to check if token is present. Then here I'm going to say config dot attach it to the headers directly dot authorization is going to be equals to make use of backticks bearer token. That's how we add this, and we're going to return the config basically. So return config. Okay, so next on 401 we need to try the refresh mechanism once. Okay, so for that I'm going to say API dot your interceptors dot response dot use, get in the result, and here we're gonna have a async method of your error, and over here I'm gonna say const original is gonna be your error.config if error dot response dot status is equals to 400 or 401, and not of original dot underscore retry. Then I'm going to say original dot retry is going to be true. Okay, and here I'm going to have the try catch block and then implement the refresh mechanism. So try catch, here I'm going to say return your promise dot reject of error. Okay, within the try block, let's try to say const refresh is going to be equals to await secure store dot get item async of your refresh refresh underscore token, and const data is going to be await axios dot, it's going to be post, and I'm going to say dollar API URL /auth /refresh. Okay, here I'm going to say refresh token, so refresh token is going to be your refresh. Okay, so once that's done, let's try to again set the access token. That's the new access token. So I'm going to say await your secure store dot, we do have the set item async. Again, it's in the form of key value pairs. Key is going to be access token, so access underscore token, here it's going to be data dot access token. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to say original dot your headers dot authorization is going to be equals to your bearer dollar data dot access token. Okay, and here I'm going to say return API dot or return API of original, and that's pretty much it. And bottom part, we're going to say return promise or reject of error below this line. So promise dot reject of your error. Alright, this is done. Let's do the format once. I think there is some issue with respect to the, just remove that comma and then add that semicolon that was required. Save the file. We can also implement the socket.ts file as well. It's pretty simple. Okay, so I'm going to say lib socket.ts. This is for the chatting part. Socket.ts. Here let's initialize socket instance. Socket is going to be of type socket. Okay, or null is going to be equals to null. Okay, null, let's write that properly. Okay, socket.io client not installed onto the main project, so yarn add that package. Okay, so export async function, it's going to be get socket. Okay, here I'm going to say promise of socket, and over here I'm going to say if socket dot connected, then I'm going to say return socket. Okay, here I'm going to say const token is going to be equals to await your secure store dot get item async of your access underscore token. Okay, now here I'm going to say socket is going to be equals to IO. IO is already imported from socket.io client. This in turn is going to take in your socket URL, and here let's pass on the auth, that is going to be token. We need to pass in the transports, that is going to be WebSockets. Okay, reconnection is going to be true. and reconnection delay is going to be 1000. Okay, and here I'm going to say return socket. Okay, that's done. So below this I'm going to say export function disconnect socket, and here I'm going to say socket.disconnect, and we're going to set the socket to be null. So this is just the boilerplate code of the socket connection that we are going to use in the application, nothing difficult. Okay, let's try to save the file. Alright, so now we can actually try to implement the functionality within the interest.tsx, that is for handle finish. That is, once when the user enters all of the details right from starting to the ending point, they need to be onboarded and they should be navigated to the main home screen. So before that, I think I forgot to add the guards, that is jwt.guard. That's the reason it's erroring out. So we need to create that folder. I'm going to say within src, it's going to be common folder, and here I'm going to say guards, and it's going to be jwt.guard.ts file. Okay, so here let's get started. First of all, I'm going to import all of the required things that we're going to use onto the top of the screen. Okay, so you can take a look at it, and here again I'm going to use the @injectable method. Here I'm going to say export class jwt auth guard implements can activate, and here I'm going to say constructor private jwt service of type jwt service. Okay, here I'm going to say can activate. So first of all, let's understand what exactly is going to happen over here. That is within the auth file, within the guard file. So this is like your protection layer. So it basically ensures that only authenticated users can access certain APIs. So yeah, that's the main understanding of what exactly this file is going to do. So yeah, it's going to be can activate of context. That's going to be of type execution context. It's going to be of boolean. We can remove all of this for now if not required. Okay, here I'm going to say const request is going to be equals to your context dot your switch to HTTP dot your get request. Okay, here I'm going to say const auth is going to be equals to your request dot headers dot the authorization. Okay, so once that's done, I'm going to first of all check if not of auth dot starts with your bearer. Then we're going to say throw new unauthorized exception. So throw new unauthorized exception. Okay, let's try to have the try catch block. So try catch, and here I'm going to say throw new unauthorized exception. Within the try block, I'm going to say const token is going to be equals to your auth.split with respect to space and get the first position, that is your token value. And here I'm going to say request.user is going to be equals to your auth.split. Sorry, request.user is going to be equals to this dot your jwt service dot verify method of that specific token. Then here I'm going to say return true. Okay, let's try to save the file. This error should have been gone. Let's try to re-import it. jwt guard, save the file. There you go, that's gone. Import user controller as well, save. Okay, so make sure to make that change. So that's pretty much it. And over here, import auth service, save. Okay, yeah, make sure to make that change, and then let's try to save the file. Okay, so this part is done. So now let's go back to the interest.tsx. That's basically your final part before onboarding. So over there, I'm going to write the function that is handle finish. So where we have interests.tsx. Yeah, over here, I'm going to say async function. I'm going to say handle finish. Let's write that properly. Okay, so here I'm gonna say, first of all, set loading to be of true. Okay, and then set error to be of a empty string. Let's add the try block and your catch as well. So catch of any error. Here I'm gonna say console.error, full error. We're just trying to log if at all anything is useful for us while debugging. So json.stringify. Here I'm gonna say message is gonna be your e.message. Your code is gonna be equals to e.code. Your response is gonna be equals to e.response. And I'm gonna say status is gonna be equals to e.response dot status. All right, and here we're gonna try to set the error. We do already have the state for that. Okay, so I'm directly gonna say set error of your e dot response dot your data dot message. That's not present, then directly I'm gonna say something went wrong. Usually that should be present. If not, it's gonna come back to this value. And finally I'm gonna say set loading to be a false. That's it. Let's complete off the try block. It's pretty simple. First of all, generate the payload. I'm gonna say const payload is gonna be equals to all of these values. So you can take a look at it. That is name, age, gender, bio is empty for now, relationship goal, personality traits, interests, and location. Here we can try to log, saying that console.log sending onboard payload. It's going to be json.stringify of your payload. Okay, here I'm going to say await your API dot, it's going to be post method. We're going to post to /user / your onboard. Okay, here let's pass on the payload, and once that's done, we're going to mark your set onboarding complete. I'm going to say await set onboarding complete. Okay, next we need to check if at all it actually got saved. For that, we're going to make use of the secure store, and then we're going to replace to the tabs. Okay, that is just like this. Import router from your expo router, and then we can import secure store as well. Copy that down, come back over here and paste it. Okay, this button expects something, that is going to be your handle finish. Let's try to add that on press handle finish. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So now the code would not work still because we have not set up the backend. I mean to say the main file, and the backend is not yet running as well, as you can see, correct? So yeah, we need to set up that main.tsx. I think it's already set up, but the code is not written. There you go, it's completely empty. Here we need to import all of the routes, and then we need to run the backend. So let's come back to this main.ts, and onto the top, let's import some things. I'm going to say import nest factory from @NestJS core. Okay, and here I'm going to say import reflect metadata, and here I'm going to say import your app module from your app.module. Okay, I think my bad, even app module is not yet present. Yeah, but first of all, let's try to write a simple function over here. I'm going to say async function, let's say bootstrap for now. So over here I'm going to say const app is going to be equals to await your nest factory dot, we do have the create method, and this in turn is going to take in the module. I'm going to say app module. Once that's done, I'm going to enable the course. I'm going to say app.enable course. For now we're going to pass on everything, so I'm just going to provide a star over here. Origin is going to be star. Alright, once that's done, I'm going to say await app.listen on 3000, and here I'm going to say console.log backend is running on HTTP localhost 3000. Okay, save the file. Let's make sure we add the code for the module.ts. It's currently empty. So here, whatever module we have used, that is auth module, user module, chat module, match module, all of them is gonna come over here. Okay, so first of all, let's import your module component. I'm gonna say import module from NestJS common. Okay, here I'm gonna say add module. This in turn is gonna take in your imports as you have done previously. Include that. Here I'm gonna say your configure module. I think we need to import that as well from your NestJS config. Let's add it over here just like this. I'm gonna say config module dot for root. I'm gonna pass on is global is gonna be true. And over here I'm gonna say mongoose module dot again for root. This in turn is gonna take in that URI that we have done previously. That is a Mongo URI. Make sure to copy it over here and pass on all of the services. So for now we have two services, auth module and your user module. So once when we write for the next two, that is chat module and the match module, we're gonna come here and then update that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna get the link for this as well. And over here I'm gonna say export class app module. Okay, so there you go. I've just added the required code that is for the MongoDB connection link, and make sure you add in your database name, question mark, retry write is going to be true, and W is going to be equals to majority. Okay, this step is done. So let's try to save the file, and let me just verify one thing within the constants.ts file. So alright, so make sure to add in your own IP, or you can pretty much use localhost if at all you're using a simulator. It should work. And yeah, we can try to run the backend. So make sure you're in the backend folder. Okay, and here we can run npm run start dev. That's the command. Enter. Alright, so we're getting an error which says nodemon command not found. So yeah, I think it's not yet installed. Let's check that out. Package.json. Yeah, it's not present. Let's try to install it. So enter the backend folder. I'm going to say yarn add -d nodemon and then ts node TypeScript. Let's give that one more try. Okay, so now it's working properly fine. Yeah, but it is working, but not sure if at all, because I'm not able to see that it is running on localhost 3000. Let's look into the main.ts file. Okay, my bad. I'm not even calling the function. So bootstrap and then save. And boom, just like that, we have all of the information. Okay, so it is restarting due to changes that I've made just now and starting your command, that is main.ts. So there you go, starting Nest application, and all of these implementations is happening. Even the time frame is being shown towards the right hand side, and there you go, all of the modules are getting compiled as well. Okay, so and boom, just like that, backend running on HTTP localhost 3000. Let's try to give this a try. I'm going to say get started. I'm going to enter a phone number. Okay, my bad. I think the OTP is not designed. Your verify OTP is not designed. And also we need to hook up the button. That is your API with the button that is send OTP. Let's verify that. Yeah, phone is there, but your verify OTP is not there. That's the code for that. Let's first of all make changes. That is whatever is required within the OTP. So we need to write a couple of methods, that is handle change, handle verify, as well as handle resend. Alright, so yeah, we just have the phone loading and the error state. So let's have the timer part. Const resend timer, comma set resend timer is going to be equals to use state of 30. So const inputs is going to be equals to use ref of type text input, initially empty array. Const set tokens, we don't need access to that, is going to be equals to use auth store. Okay, so first of all, let's try to implement the functionality for if at all your timer is less than 0, we need to call the set timeout, and then we need to call the set reset timer as well. I'm going to add the code for that. Okay, my bad. I think I made a mess up because this should be coming within the OTP file, whereas only one function within it handles an OTP. So let's make that change. My bad. So async function should be handle send OTP. All right. Here I'm going to say set error to be of empty string, set loading to be of true. Let's try to add the try catch of any. Here I'm going to say set error to be of e.response dot data dot message else similarly something went wrong. Okay, and again finally here I'm going to say set loading to be of false. Let's come to the try block. Await API imported from the lib file dot post. It's going to be /auth / your send OTP. It's going to take in the param phone. I'm going to say +91, the country code, as well as the $phone. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to say router imported from export router dot. It's going to be your push method. I'm going to say path name. It's going to be /auth OTP. This in turn is going to take in the params. That's going to be phone. Okay, that's pretty much it. Let's try to save the file, and let's come back to your button and then give the on press. That's the missing part. So here I'm going to say on press. It's going to be handle send OTP. So I'm just going to get the code for the OTP screen. Okay, so you can take a look at it. So whatever we had written over here, that is not required because all of these is going to come within the next screen itself. Save the file. So you can take a look at the OTP screen. I'll be sending the code in the description. You can take a look at it as well. So we're going to have 6 input boxes, and as the user enters all of them and presses on the final continue button, we're going to call the handle verify. And we do also have the recent OTP. It's going to have a handle resend. So once we have that, it's going to say auth send OTP again. Okay, there's going to be a new OTP, and again we're going to verify based on the new OTP that is sent. So you can take a look at it right from the starting point again. This is the function for handle verifying. So first of all, check the code length. It has to be 6, otherwise we cannot implement it. Again, try catch block. Finally, set it to be false. In the try block, simply make a API call to this particular endpoint and set the tokens once it is verified. Okay, so that's pretty much it. You can go through the design once again. That is with the return block. Okay, let's try to give this a try. I'm going to say get started, enter a phone number. I'm going to say send OTP. Okay, so we are getting an issue. It says validation error, OTP validation failed, used path used is required. Okay, let's look into that once. Let's actually check out the schema once if at all there is any issue. I'm just going to verify my previous code. So we're going to have phone expires at used. Okay, default is false. That's the reason it's erroring out. Here I'm going to say default is going to be false. Save. Let's give this one more try. Send OTP, and boom, just like that, everything worked fine. OTP for this number is 517528. Let's enter that, 517528. Verify, and boom, just like that, the OTP was verified. This user is verified with their phone number, and now we need to onboard the user. So I'm going to enter my name, continue, 23, continue, and how do you identify? Male, continue. I'm going to say long term over here, and I'm going to enter some random options for your personality. So where in Bangalore, Whitefield, continue. Your interests, I'm going to say music, travel, fitness, food and some of these options. Once I press on let's go, we should be able to log in, and boom, just like that we were able to create a user and we are into the main tabs. Okay, so this is the complete process of creating a user from onboarding to your main home screen where you're going to discover the other profiles. Okay, so as you can see, it says saved and Sujan. It's actually logging the name as well as the age. That's what we've given in the logs. That's the reason it's showing like that. So this part is completely done. Now the next step is we can try to write the code for the backend, that is for showing all of the matches based on whichever other profiles are there onto the application. So the onboarding is working properly fine. Now the next step is to show the matches part as well as show the user profiles onto the main home screen. So for that we need to define the match component, and similarly we're going to have the match controller, your match module, match schema. Okay, let's start off from the match schema and let's start writing code for that. So backend folder, new folder, match. Okay, not math, match. Within that I'm going to say your match.schema.ts. So here I'm going to first of all export type your match document. Similarly we have done for previous ones. Even this is going to remain similar with respect to the syntax. It's going to be equals to match and document. Okay, here I'm going to say add schema. I'm going to say timestamps is going to be equals to true. Okay, here I'm going to say export class match. Here I'm going to say add props. Just prop over here. Import that from NestJS Mongoose. Here I'm going to say type is going to be equals to your types.object ID. Reference is going to be with respect to the user. Required is going to be true. Okay, and here we are going to say user1. It's going to be types.object ID. Similarly, I'm going to add it for the remaining ones. So this is going to be user2. Again, it's going to have the same thing, that is your type.object ID, and reference is going to be to the user. Required is going to be true, and this also is going to be of types.object ID. Next is going to be is photo unlocked. We can actually skip that for now. Okay, I'm going to add the updated code. Here let's try to export the value. I'm going to say export const match schema is going to be equals to your schema factory dot create for class of your match. Alright, just like this you can take a look at it. For the updated changes, save the file. Now let's go ahead and then write the condition for your match service. Okay, so here we are going to have three types within the schema, that is user1, user2, as well as your third one, that is photo unlock, that we're going to skip for now because we're not going to implement that. So the first one means it's going to store first user's ID and references user collection as you have written. Second user is for store second user ID, and then it's going to reference to the user collection. Now let's go ahead and then write the condition or the implementation for your match service. Let's create that file, match.service.ts. Alright, so over here I'm going to import the required things, that is model, types, inject model, as well as the bad request exception and injectable. Let's import it over here just like this. Here I'm going to say add injectable. Again similarly export class, I'm going to say match service, pass on your constructor. Here I'm going to say add inject model. Of your match.name. Here we're going to say private match model. Is going to be of type model with respect to the match document. Similarly, we're going to have for the next one add inject model of your swipe.name. I think we can write that later because swipe is not yet implemented. Alright, so here I'm going to say private user service, that is going to be of type user service. Okay, that's it. So now let's try to write the conditions for two things. I think we also had to write for swipe as well. Yeah, so here when a user swipes another user, what needs to happen, we need to write that. So someone swiped right, what needs to happen? So I'm going to say async function or async swipe. This is going to have from id, that is the person who is swiping. It's going to be of type string. We're going to have a to id, that is the person who is getting swiped by another person, and the action, that is going to be of type string. Okay, here I'm going to say first of all, if not of your types dot object id dot is valid of from id, or similar condition check before progressing. If not of types dot object id dot is valid, let's write that properly, of your to id, then here I'm going to say throw new bad request exception of a invalid user id. Okay, and here check the condition stating that if at all your from id is equals to to id, then we cannot implement it. Both has to be different. If from id is going to be equals to id, I'm going to say throw new bad request exception, cannot swipe yourself. Okay, and here I'm going to say const from is going to be equals to new types dot object id of from id. Const 2 is again going to be similar, that is new types dot object id of to id. And we're going to check for the existing value. I'm going to say const existing is going to be equals to await. I'm going to say this dot swipe model. Okay, even for this we need access to that dot, we have to use the find one method with respect to from and to. If at all we do have something existing, then I'm going to say return matched is going to be false, and I'm going to say already swiped is going to be true. Okay, here I'm going to say await this dot your swipe model dot create from to as well as your action. I'm going to say return success is going to be equals to true because you have swiped, and your action. Okay, so we need to implement that model first of all, that is a swipe model. Now next we're going to have the function for the get likes received. So I'm just going to add the code for that. You can try to look at it over here. Okay, so this is for the function that is to get the likes received for a particular user onto the application. Save the file. So first of all, let's understand what exactly is going to happen over here. So first step is it fetches all the like actions where other users have liked you and you haven't responded yet. So it's going to come to the matches tab as we have seen in the demo part of the video. And the next step is for each like, it finds the sender's user profile using the user service dot find by id, that is this specific line. Okay, next what it does is it is going to do the formatting part. So it formats the data into a clean object, like let's say like id plus your sender id. Okay, that is just like this. And next it uses the promise.all to run all the lookups in parallel for speed. Okay, so that's what your get likes received is going to do. Once it has done that, it is going to return all of the filtered values to the front end part. Okay, that's it. Next is going to be for the respond to like. Let's go and then write that, or before that let's try to get all of the matches. So here I'm going to say async respond to like. It's going to be of user id of string, your like id of string comma your accept of your boolean. Okay, let's go ahead and then write the conditions for this. I mean the implementation. So here first of all I'm going to check the types condition. So here I'm going to say if not of types, dot your object id dot is valid of your like id. Then here you're going to say throw new bad request exception, and here it's going to say invalid like id. Okay, so here I'm going to say const like is going to be equals to await this dot swipe model. We need to define that. Okay, dot I'm going to say find one method. Here we're going to find based on the id. I'm going to say underscore id is going to be equals to your new types dot your object id of your like id, and 2 also we need to pass. That's going to be equals to your new types dot object id of your user id. Okay, and here I'm going to say action as well. That is going to be for the user. Sorry, the action is going to be like. Okay, so if not of like, we cannot implement it. I'm going to say if not of like, then I'm going to say throw new bad request exception, and here I'm going to say like not found. If it is not accept, then decline, mark it so it doesn't show up again. So here I'm going to say await this dot your swipe model dot we do have the find by id and update. So find by id and update of your like id, accepted is going to be false. Okay, here I'm going to say return matched, that's going to be false. So if at all it is accepted, then we're going to create a match between both of the users. So for that reason here I'm going to say await this dot swipe model dot we do have again the find by id and update of your like id, and simply we're going to mark the accepted as false, sorry, true. That is just like this. Okay, once that's done, here I'm going to say const existing is going to be equals to await this dot match model dot find one. Okay, here I'm going to say dollar or then user one, that is going to be like dot from user 2, that is going to be like dot 2. Okay, here I'm going to say user 1 like dot 2, user 2, it's going to be like dot from. Okay, that's it. And here we're going to check if at all existing is there, then we're going to return the match as true. So return matched true, your match id, that is going to be existing dot underscore id dot to string. Okay, and here we're going to try to create the match. So I'm going to say const match is going to be equals to this dot your match model dot create. Here we're going to have user 1, that is going to be your like dot from, and your user 2, that is going to be like dot 2. Okay, and over here we're going to say return your matched is going to be true, and your match id is going to be match dot underscore id dot to string. Okay, so that's it. So now let's go ahead and then define the swipe schema. So within the match, I'm going to say swipe.schema.ts file. Okay, so here first of all I'm going to export the document. I'm going to say export type swipe document is going to be equals to swipe and document. Okay, I'm going to say here add schema, import that from Mongoose, and again timestamps is going to be true. Here we're going to say export class, it's going to be swipe, and I'm going to say add prop. Your type is going to be equals to your types dot your object ID, reference to the user, required is going to be true. Okay, not like this, directly we can try to add the value, and over here I'm going to say from your types dot object ID. Okay, so over here add prop, type is going to be types dot object ID, reference is going to be to your user, and required is going to be true. Okay, and over here I'm going to say to, it's going to be types dot object ID, and over here I'm going to say prop, and this is going to be a enum containing your like or pass. Okay, here we're going to say required is going to be true, and your action is going to be of type string, and I've similarly added for the last one as well as I've also exported it over here. Okay, let's try to save the file. Now here within the match service, let's try to make that change. That is, we need to include the swipe model. So again over here similarly add inject model, it's gonna be of swipe dot name. Okay, and here we're gonna say private swipe model, again access the model, and it's gonna be a swipe document. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's try to save the file. So this should be model save. Okay, so yep, this part is done. So we have defined everything. We can come back to the app.module.ts, and then we can include the new one, that is going to be your match module. Okay, my bad, I think match module is not yet written, so we need to write the code for that. So it's going to be match.module.ts. Also the controller file is not written as well, so match.module.ts. here I'm going to say add module, get in the imports. Here I'm going to say mongoose module dot for feature. Here I'm going to say name, that is going to be match dot name, comma schema, that is going to be a match schema. Import that correctly, then we're going to have the next part, that is going to be name, that is going to be for the swipe. So I'm going to say swipe dot name, then your schema is going to be your swipe schema. Okay, this part is done. Here I'm going to also pass in the user module. import that, and we need to provide in the providers as well. So providers, it's gonna have your match service, import that from the service file. Controllers is the match controller. This is not yet written, we're gonna write that. Exports is gonna be a match service. Here let's try to export the value. That's gonna be match module. So export class match module. Save the file, include it over here. Save. Let's create that file match.controller.ts file. So within your match, I'm gonna say match dot controller dot ts. Okay, so yeah, let's start writing the code for this. It's pretty simple. First of all, I'm going to import all of the required things onto the top for this specific file. So let's do that over here. You can try to have that. Okay, and over here I'm going to say add controller. It's going to be with respect to the match. Here I'm going to say export class your match controller. Again, make sure the constructor private match service of your match service. Here first of all, let's try to use the guards, that is JWT auth guard. I'm going to say add use guards of your JWT auth guard. Make use of the post method. So this is for the swiping, what needs to happen. Let's write that. So here I'm going to say swipe, import from the swipe schema. Okay, just the normal swipe. Add request. Your request is going to be of any, and add body. So body is going to be any as well. Here we're going to say return this dot your match service dot swipe. So we need three things: your request dot user dot sub and your body dot your dot target user ID comma your body dot action. Okay, so just like this, make sure to add it. And next one, we're gonna do it for the likes. So I'm just gonna copy this down one more time and then make the change. So instead of swipe, it is gonna be your likes. Okay, and here it's gonna be get likes, add request, and your request is gonna be of type any, no body for this. And here we are directly gonna say return this dot match service dot get likes received of the request dot user dot sub. So for that specific user, whatever other likes, you're gonna get that. So this is done. So now the next one is for the responding of like, what needs to happen. Again, let's try to initialize this over here. Okay, so here we're gonna say use guards of your JWT auth guard, and add post is gonna be likes / your like ID / respond. Okay, so I'm just gonna add it over here for this one. Format once, and then let's save the file. There you go, this part is done. So once when we have the get of all of the matches, because that is not yet implemented within your service file, we're gonna write that over here in the controller. I think there is a syntax issue over here with respect to the brackets. Let's try to fix that. User module doesn't exist. Let's copy that correctly. Save. Okay, so this part is done. So we can come back to the main tabs and then we can try to implement it. That is within the index.ts .tsx file. So that's going to be your discover screen. So where we have index, this is the one. So yeah, over here onto the top, let's first of all have some states. I'm going to say const profiles comma set profiles is going to be equals to use state. It is going to be of type discover profile. It's going to come from the types file, initially an empty array. Next I'm going to say const loading comma set loading is going to be equals to use state of true initially. I also need the card index. I'm going to say const card index comma set card index is going to be equals to use state of 0. Let's try to access the swipe ref. I'm going to say const swipe ref is going to be equals to your use ref. Import that correctly, and here I'm going to say swiper of your discover profile of null. Okay, so this swiper is going to come from React Native Deck Swiper. Let's try to add that. So I'm just going to say yarn add React Native Deck Swiper. So let's install that, and then we're going to import it as well. Import that correctly. So I'm just going to do that over here. Save. Okay, so once that's done, let's try to include the function that is async fetch profiles. I'm going to say async function fetch profiles. Let's try to have in your try catch block. So try catch of error. Here I'm going to say console.error of e, and here I'm going to say finally set loading is going to be a false. Okay, within the try block it's going to be simple. Let's try to destructure the data. So const data is going to be equals to await API included from the lib dot get of your user / discover. Save. Okay, let's try to call it on the initial mount. I'm going to say use effect over here. Directly call fetch profiles, and it's going to be called on the initial mount. So initially empty array over here in the dependency. Okay, so we do have some issues. Let's fix that. Axios network error. Let's start it out again. Reload the app. Okay, so let's continue forward. First of all, I'm going to check if at all it's loading, and if at all the profiles.length is equals to 0, then we're going to say no more profiles, and you're all caught up. So I'm going to add these two designs before this function, that is below this one. Let's try to add it out over here. Okay, make sure to import your activity indicator, your view as well from React Native, and the safe area view as well. Save the file. So there you go, just like that. Since we only have one profile, that is our profile, it's going to say you're all caught up and no more profiles right now, check back later. Okay, so first of all we're gonna have the design being implemented, and then we can test it out with other profiles. So let's come back to the return block and remove everything that's currently present, and over here I'm gonna have my safe area view. So yeah, class name for this, or we can give some internal styling itself for this page specifically. So flex of 1, and bg color is going to be this one, that is 0909 and then 0b. Let's start to design the header part. I'm going to have a view. Within that I'm going to have two pieces of text showing the chance as well as the how many cards is left. So you can try to access these pieces of text over here. Let's pass on the class name for this. I'm going to say class name, or yeah, internal styling, right? So style. So some padding horizontal of let's say 24. Okay, and padding top as well, that is going to be 8. Padding bottom, that is going to be 4. and your flex direction is going to be row, align items of center, okay, justify content of space between. Save the file. So currently we cannot see the design because all of the profiles are going to be empty and it's going to go into this specific condition. So now let's try to add the swiper part. So below this view, I'm going to have the view. This is going to say swiper. It's already imported. Here it's going to take a reference, basically that's going to be your swiper ref, okay, and your cards is going to be your profiles, and your card index is going to be equals to your card index. All of these have already been defined. Then render card, this in turn is going to take in your profile. Here we are going to say profile card. Okay, so here I'm going to pass on a bunch of options. So profile is going to be equals to profile. Then on like, what needs to happen, enter that. So on like is going to be equals to your swiper ref dot current dot swipe right. Okay, this should be just swipe ref. Really add it for the next one as well. That is your on pass. Or let's just make this swiper. Okay, so here also make the change. So we're going to define that profile card in just a bit, and what needs to happen on swipe right, let's write that. So on swipe right, taking that index, so I'm going to say I. Here I'm going to say set card index to be of I plus 1, so that the next card is going to be shown. And over here I'm going to say handle swipe, even that needs to be defined. This is a function of that specific value, and then it's going to be like. Similarly for on swipe left, what needs to happen, let's write that. Okay, here we're going to say set card index of I plus 1, and again handle swipe of I. Instead of like, it's going to be pass over here. I'm going to say stack size is going to be equals to 3. Stack scale is going to be equals to 6. And then stack separation is going to be equals to 14. Disable top swipe. Disable also bottom swipe. Okay, so yeah, once that is done, I'm going to say animation overlay label opacity. Add that. So next over here, I'm going to add the overlay labels. This is going to include all of the styles. So let's say you're going to pass towards the right hand side, what title needs to be shown, we're going to show pass. And after you're going to swipe towards the left hand side, it's going to be, after you're swiping towards the left hand side, it's going to be pass. And after you're swiping towards the right hand side, the title is going to be like. I'm going to add the design for that, so you can take a look at that. It's going to look something like this. So overlay labels. Okay, so as I said, for left it's going to be title pass. These are the styles that we're going to use, and this is the wrapper style. Similarly for right, it's going to be like, and you can add in your own colors and you can test it out as well. Okay, I've used currently these color shades. Next one is going to be your card horizontal margin, that's going to be 22, and I'm going to say card vertical margin, that's going to be 6. This part is complete. Okay, so yeah, let's first of all define that function, that is handle swipe. What needs to happen, let's say over here onto the top, I'm going to say async function handle swipe of your index, that is gonna be number, and over here your action is going to be either like or pass. Okay, then I'm gonna say const profile is gonna be equals to your profiles of index. Here I'm gonna check if not of profile, I'm gonna say return. Okay, let's try to have your try catch block. So try, and then catch of error, that's gonna be any. Here I'm gonna say return a view, which in turn is gonna have activity indicator. Color is gonna be of this color code, that is hashtag EC4 and then 899. Size is gonna be large. Okay, let's pass on the class name over here or some internal styling equals to flex of 1. Background color of this color code, that is 09090B, and align items of center, justify content of center as well. That's it for the catch block. Within the try block over here, I'm going to say await your API dot, I'm going to say post. Okay, so it's going to be / match and then / swipe. Here I'm going to say your target user ID is going to be your string of profile.id, and the action is already passed, that is like or pass from your parameter. Okay, that's it. So once it's done, let's go and then define your function profile card. That's gonna be right below your view, or you can try to create a components folder as well, that is better. So yeah, function profile card, this is gonna take in a bunch of options, that is gonna be your profile, your on like, okay, then your on pass, what needs to happen. Here I'm gonna say profile, that is gonna be discover profile. Okay, and over here I'm gonna say on like, that's gonna be void. On pass, that is gonna be void as well. Okay, so first of all over here I'm gonna try to set the card height, that is for each card. I'm gonna say const card underscore height is gonna be equals to your screen underscore height multiplied by 0.78. okay, let's try to access the goal map over here. That's gonna be some data. I'm just gonna add it over here just like this, format once. So yes, once that's done, let's try to return the view for the design. Here I'm gonna say view, let's pass on the style for this. This is gonna have a height of your card height, background color of this color code, that is 0f 0f 0f. Apart from that, we're gonna have a border radius as well of 24, your border width of 0.5, and your border color of 1f 1f 1f. Alright, so apart from that, we're gonna say overflow is gonna be hidden. That's it. So within the view, we're gonna have the top avatar plus your name. So add in a view, this in turn is gonna have your avatar. So this is basically a component that we need to define. So basically for each of the name, what needs to happen. So let's create a avatar.tsx within the UI folder. Here I'm gonna say avatar.tsx, and let's add in the code for that. So here you go. So this is basically like, let's say the name is Sujan Anand, it's going to show as S and A. Okay, it's going to show the first character as well as second character. So that's the entire design for this, and I've added some basic color shades over here. So based on that, it's going to pick some random color and then it's going to show onto the screen. So you can take the design for the avatar screen or the component from the starting point if probably you've missed something. And let's go ahead and then import that component. So here I'm going to say name is going to be equals to your profile.name. Okay, then your size, that is going to be equals to 82. Font size is going to be equals to 30. Okay, so the screen height is undefined. Let's add it onto the topmost part, just like this, and dimensions from React Native. Okay, so yes, once that's done, that is your avatar design is done. Let's move on to the next part, that is going to be with respect to your name and details. So view over here, pass on a text that's going to show the profile.name, comma your profile.age. So yeah, class name for this or some internal styling, line items of center, a gap of 3. Okay, so for this as well, style color is going to be white. Okay, so apart from that, your font size of 22, font weight of 800. This part is done, and over here below this I'm going to check if not of profile location. We're going to add profile location and the Bengaluru word and this specific word over here. Save the file. So yeah, below this we're gonna have your relationship goal type. So add in the text, we are gonna use this data basically, that's the goal map. So try to access goal map of your profile dot your relationship goal. If that's not present, then profile dot your relationship goal. So yeah, style for this, that is gonna be your color. That's gonna be 71717A and a font size of, let's say, 13. So below the view over here, I'm gonna say your profile dot has photo and yeah, I think we can skip this part because we're not including photos over here. So next, let's move on to the next part, that is your scrollable content. Here I'm gonna say scroll view from React Native. Pass on the style for this, that is gonna have, you know, a flex of 1. And apart from that, I'm gonna say content container style, that is gonna be padding of 18, and I'm gonna say a gap of 14 as well. Okay, apart from that, I'm gonna say show vertical scroll indicator, that is gonna be false. So this part is done. Let's try to add the bio over here. I'm gonna say profile dot bio, and over here we're gonna have a view that is gonna show your bio text. I'm gonna say profile dot bio. Let's try to add the class name for this. Okay, so over here, I mean not class name, your internal styling, it's gonna have a color of specific color code, that is gonna be D4 D4 D8. Okay, then your font size of 14, line height, that's gonna be 22, and font style is gonna be italic. For the topmost view, some style, it's gonna have a background color of 1A 1A 1A, and I'm gonna say border radius of 12, padding of 14, and over here I'm gonna say border left width of 2 and border left color of EC 4899. So next let's go and then style the personality part. That's going to be the next one. So here I'm going to check if at all your profile dot personality traits dot length, if it is greater than 0, and let's try to have a view. So within this I'm going to have a text which is going to say personality. Let's pass on the class name for that. So let's add the style basically. So your color is going to be this color code, that is 3F3F46. Okay, then your font size, that is going to be 10. Font weight of let's say 700, and I'm going to say your letter spacing, that is going to be 1.4, and your text transform, that is going to be uppercase. So below this I'm going to map over all of the personality that is added by the user, and then I'm going to design that. I'm going to add the design for this. Let's try to format once. Okay, you can take a look at it. So for the view I'm going to have a gap of 6. So style gap of 6. This part is done. Next is going to be for the interests part. Let's just try to have this design, and then we're going to make the changes. So here it's going to be your profile dot interests dot length if it's greater than 0, then similar design. So instead of personality it's going to be interests or info or into. Okay, so yeah, I think it's pretty much going to be the same except the design change. So over here it's going to be profile dot interests dot map, and this is going to be the design for this. Get in the I value over here and save. Okay, that part is done. Now let's move on to the next one, that's going to be for looking for design. Having a view for this is going to have a text which is going to say looking for. Pass on the class name, sorry, my bad, style. It's going to have a color of this color code, that is 3F and then 46. Okay, a smaller font size of 10, font weight of let's say 700, and I'm going to say letter spacing of 1.4, text transform of uppercase, and I'm going to say margin bottom of 6. So yes, below this we're going to have your goal map of profile or relationship goal, similarly as we have done above. I'm going to say goal map of your profile dot relationship goal or profile dot relationship goal. So yes, pass on the design for this. Class name, sorry, my bad, style again. It's gonna have a color of this color code, that is A1 and then AA. Font size is gonna be 14. Let's pass on the style for this. It's gonna have a background color, that is gonna be 1A and then 1A. Border radius of let's say 12, padding of 14, and it's gonna have a border width of 1 and a border color of this color code, that is 27 and then 27. So next we're gonna have the both of the buttons, that is gonna be your like and pass. I'm gonna add the design for that. Let's format once and then let's try to save the file. So the buttons are gonna come right below the scroll view, and these are gonna be the sticky buttons. So let's add it over here. So there you go, these are the designs. So import pressable from React Native. Okay, and I've already given on press, on pass, as well as on press, on like. These are coming from the function parameters, these. Okay, so yeah, these are the designs. You can take a look at it. So now the next step is I'm going to create few profiles and then I'm going to come back. So hopefully we should be able to see 2 or 3 profiles once I've created it, and they should show up over here. So since we have currently one profile, it's saying you're all caught up. So I'm going to create 2 or 3 profiles and then come back, and we should be able to see all of the cards being shown onto the screen. So there you go, finally it's working fine. So just created 2 more profiles and you're able to see all of the other profiles that are logged in onto the application or registered onto the application. Okay, and you can also see the design, that is the cards that are coming up. So currently we have 2 left over here. Okay, you can either swipe right or you can swipe left. Let's try to swipe left for this one. As you can see, you're going to see that pass one, and once you swipe right, you're going to see like over here. Okay, so I'm going to say swipe left for this one. Okay, no more issues, that profile got swiped left. So once I swipe right for this particular profile, they should be able to see that received like within the matches. Okay, I'm going to say swipe right, and boom, once all of the cards are over, again we're going to come back to the previous state itself. Now if I log in with the other profile and then come back to the matches, you should be able to see that I have sent a match to that specific profile. So for that, first of all, we need to design that. So let's go ahead and then do that. That is going to be within the matches screen. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to define the interface that is for match as well as the likes received. So here I'm going to say interface likes received. This is going to have your like ID, that is going to be of string. Okay, liked at, that is going to be string as well. Then we're going to have from user, that is the details of the user, from user who has liked it. It's going to have ID of string, name string, age number, bio, gender, location, okay. Then we're going to have personality traits as well. Then I'm going to have interests, then has photo, boolean. Then we're going to have your relationship goals. Okay, so similarly I'm going to get for the next one, that is going to be interface match. It's going to have pretty much similar details itself. I'm just going to add it over here. So once that's done over here, let's try to initialize some states. Here I'm going to say const likes comma set likes is going to be equals to use state. It's going to be of like received. Okay, then here I'm going to say const matches comma set matches is going to be equals to use state of type match. Again, it's going to have empty initial array. Next, the loading and set loading state. So const loading comma set loading is going to be equals to use state true over here initially. Next, const refreshing comma set refreshing is going to be equals to use state, it's going to be false. Next, I'm going to say const responding comma set responding is going to be equals to use state of string or null of null. Okay, next I'm going to add in 2 more things, that is a use effect as well as your new match and then set new match. We need to define that function, that is fetch all. Let's do that. So here I'm going to say async function, it's going to be fetch all. Okay, we can remove the params, not required for now. So within this I'm going to say have a try catch block. So try catch of error, I'm going to say console dot error of your error. Finally I'm going to set it to be true. I'm going to say set loading to be of false, and I'm going to say set refreshing to be of false as well. Within your try block I'm going to say const API, const likes a result comma match result is going to be equals to await make use of promise dot all. We're going to call for both matches as well as likes. Okay, here I'm going to say API import that dot get. First one is going to be for matches / likes. Okay, next I'm going to say API dot get, it's going to be / match. Okay, here I'm going to say set likes to be of your like result dot data, and here I'm going to say set matches to be of match results dot data. Alright, so over here in the matches.tsx I think I've made a issue over here. So previously I had written matches and then likes, so that's the wrong endpoint. That's the reason we were getting some issues. So yeah, fix that up. It's going to be / match and then / likes. Okay, so yeah, it is working properly fine, no more issues as of now. Let's continue designing this and we should be able to see the match design being shown onto the screen. Okay, so instead of this I'm going to make use of my safe area view. So here I'm going to say safe area view. Okay, let's pass on the class name to this. Here I'm going to say give it a flex of 1, and I'm going to say bg zinc of let's say 950. Okay, and over here I'm going to say scroll view, give it a class name that is going to be flex of 1. Okay, and content container style, this is going to be padding bottom of 32. Alright, and refresh control is going to be equals to your refresh control, import that from React Native. This in turn is going to take in the refreshing value, that's going to be refreshing. We already have the state written for that onto the top. So yeah, add that. Once that is done, the next step is going to be for your on refresh what needs to happen. Okay, so over here first of all I'm going to say set refreshing to be of true, and it's going to be fetch all. Alright, I'm also going to pass in your tint color. It's going to be this color code EC4899. Okay, then below that we're going to have the matches. So this is the design for matches. Once that is done, the next one is going to be for your likes. I'm going to check the condition likes dot length is greater than 0, and let's try to add a view. Okay, so here next I'm going to add that heart icon, and then I'm going to show the likes dot length as well as how many people like you. Okay, that particular design. So it's going to look something like this. Format once, save the file, and boom, just like that, it's working properly fine. It says 1 person likes you. Okay, because this profile has a like that it has received. Okay, so below the text I'm going to map over it. I'm going to say likes dot map. So for every like over here I'm gonna show a like card. To this like card I'm gonna first of all provide in the key that is going to be equals to like dot liked, sorry, like dot like id, your like information that is going to be like itself, then responding is going to be equals to if responding is going to be equals to your like id. Next, what needs to happen if on accept and what needs to happen in on decline? You can directly call the handle respond function. So I'm just going to add it over here just like this, and we also need to define the handle respond. We're going to do that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So if at all your likes.length is equals to 0 and your matches.length is also equals to 0, then we're going to say no likes yet and then keep discovering. Okay, this is going to come right over here. If your likes.length is equals to 0 and your matches.length is equals to 0, then in this case I'm going to say view having a text. Okay, this is going to say that icon, I'm going to get that. Below that I'm going to have a text which is going to say no likes yet. Here I'm going to have a text which is going to say keep discovering people. Okay, a new line, and then I'm going to say likes will show up here. Let's pass on the class name for this. I'm going to say flex of 1, items of center, justify of center, a margin top of 32, and a px of 6 or px of 8. And over here I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to have a text of white, text of XL, font is going to be bold, empty of 4, and then text of center. For this specific text class name, I'm going to say text zinc of, let's say, not 950, 500. Text is going to be base, so add in that. Text is going to be center, empty of 2. Okay, so I'm just going to add the design for that. Let's try to save. Before that, we need to write the handle respond as well. Let's go ahead and then write that function and then define the like card. These two are the next steps. So let's say over here below fetch all itself, I'm going to write that async function respond all or handle respond. Okay, it's going to have a bunch of params, that is like id of string comma accept of boolean from user is going to be like received of your from user. Okay, here first of all you're going to say set responding to be of like id because this is the person who is responding. Now next let's try to have in your try catch block. So here I'm going to say try and then catch of error. Here I'm going to say console dot error of error, and here I'm going to say finally we can say set responding to be of null. Okay, so here within your try block I'm going to say const data is going to be equals to await API dot use the post method. So in case of backtext it's going to be /match / your likes $$ your like id / respond. Okay, and here I'm going to say accept. Once that's done, again I'm going to say await fetch all. Okay, to get the updated data. Next is we need to show the match animation if at all it's accepted. So here I'm going to check if accept is true and your data dot matched and if it is from user. Here I'm going to say const matched data is going to be equals to your matches dot apply the find method. So for every value I'm going to check if at all your m dot matched user dot id is going to be equals to your from user dot id. Okay, or it is just going to be all of this data. Let's try to add it over here. Format. So once that's done over here, I'm going to say set your new match. We already have the state for that. it's going to be match data as the match type. So yeah, that part is done. So now let's go ahead and then write the code for function like card. That's going to come right below the return block design. Let's say over here. So I'm going to say function like card. This in turn is going to have your like, your responding, comma, on accept what needs to happen, on decline what needs to happen. Okay, so your like is going to be of type like received. Responding is going to be a boolean. Okay, so apart from that, on accept what needs to happen, that's going to return a void basically. Next is going to be a on decline. This also similarly void. Let's write down the function. First of all, let's try to get the from user, destructure it. I'm going to say const from user is going to be coming from the like. Okay, and here let's try to return the design. Having a view, this view is going to have a self-enclosing design, so some internal styling. Height is going to be of 2, then a background color of EC4899. So for the outermost view, let's provide in this style. Okay, this is going to have a margin horizontal of, let's say, 16, margin bottom of 12, your background color of 0f 0f 0f. Okay, then border radius of, let's say, 20, border width of 0.5, border color of 1f 1f and then 1f. Overflow is going to be hidden. Not sure why tint color is not coming. Let me just check the exact spelling for that. Yeah, that's the correct spelling, to be honest. Okay, my bad. That was written over here within the same function, so make that change and this should go. Okay, so this part is done. Let's try to format once. So after the self-enclosing view, we're gonna have the next piece of design, that is gonna be the header row. Okay, so for that outermost view, I'm gonna have some styling for this. So class name or style, this is gonna be a flex of padding of 16 and a gap of 14. Here you're gonna have your inner view. Okay, I'm gonna have my avatar imported from the components folder. Name is gonna be, this is basically gonna take in a couple of params. So first one is gonna be from user.name, size, and then font size. It's gonna be 52. Font size is gonna be 18. For the view, let's provide in the class name or the style of flex direction of row, align items of center, and a gap of 12. Below avatar, we're gonna have one more piece of view. This in turn is gonna have a text which is gonna show your from user dot your name, comma, your from user dot age. So for this view, I'm gonna say style, give it a flex of 1. And for this piece of text, I'm gonna say style. Okay, so it's gonna have a specific color, that is gonna be this color code, font size of, let's say, 17, and font weight of 700. Save the file and let's check out matches, and boom, just like that, this person has sent us a like. Okay, so that design is coming properly fine. So now next step is going to show the goal shot as well as the user's location, right? Let's try to add it right below this piece of text. So this goal shot needs to be defined. Okay, let's say to the bottommost part we're gonna add this. So I'm gonna say function goal shot Goal is going to be of type string. Okay, I'm going to use a map of type record. Here we're going to have string as well as a string. Here I'm going to get in all of the values. Okay, there is long term, casual, friendship as well as figuring out, and we're going to return whatever value they have chosen. Okay, so I'm going to say return map of your goal, if not goal. Save. Come back to matches. Okay, there you go. Long term, it's coming correctly fine. So this part is done. So next is going to be another view which is going to have a different kind of design. Let's come back to this one, and below the view I'm going to paste the code for that. This is going to say likes you. Come back to matches. There you go. This is the design for that. So next is going to be to show the bio. That's going to come right below this specific view. I'm going to say if not of from user.bio and I'm going to say text and from user.bio. I don't think the bio is added yet. Okay, so style. This is going to have a color of a specific color code. That's going to be, let's say 7A. Okay, so font size is going to be 14 and line height is going to be 20. Font style is going to be italic. Next is going to be for the traits design. Here I'm going to say from user dot your personality traits dot length if it's greater than 0 and let's try to have a view over here. Okay, here let's try to have the style. That is gonna be a gap of 6. Here I'm gonna have a text which is gonna say personality. Pass on the class name for this, or style itself. Okay, this is gonna have a specific color code that is gonna be 3F and then 46. Font size of 11. Font weight of 600. Letter spacing of 1. And then text transform of uppercase. Text transform uppercase. Save the file. Let's see how exactly it's looking. There you go, personality. You can make the color a bit more lighter if you want. Yeah, so below the text let's try to map over the design. So I'm going to say have an overview before that. So here we're going to say from user dot access your personality traits dot map over it for every value having a text. Here I'm going to say text and I'm going to say t dot character at 0 dot to uppercase, and we're also going to slice it as well. So here I'm going to say plus t dot slice from 1 to end. Let's pass on the style for this. So style, it's going to have a color of this specific color code F9 A8 and then D4. It's also going to have a font size of let's say 12. Okay, and then font weight of 500. Save the file. So there you go, all of them are being correctly shown. I'm just going to add the complete design for the outermost view. That's the only part pending. Alright, you can take a look at it. I've added the design for the view. Format once and save the file. There you go, that's looking good. Okay, so introvert, homebody as well as analytical. So next one is going to be similar, that is going to be for interests. So this design is going to remain same as is, and again similarly, instead of a mapping through personality traits, I'm going to map over the interests. Okay, I'm going to add the code below this, save and then format. As you can see, similar design, just that the wordings and the types is changed for the mapping part. come back over here, and there you go. So personality and into. Next, below this we have the buttons part. Let's go and then design that. So below this I'm gonna have a view. This is gonna have a pressable from React Native, having a piece of text. This is gonna say decline. Next is gonna say accept. Okay, so for this view I'm gonna say style, give it a flex direction of row, and let's say gap of 10, margin top of 4. For this pressable, on press is going to be equals to on decline, directly access the function from the props. Okay, then disabled is going to be if at all it is responding. Next I'm going to say pass on the style for this, give it a flex of 1, padding vertical of let's say 13, a slight border radius of 14, background color of this color code, that is 1A 1A 1A. Once that's done, next is going to be for the border width, border color as well, that is going to be 2A 2A and then 2A. Align items is going to be center, and your opacity, it's going to be in the form of a condition. Responding means 0.5, else it's going to be 1. For the text I'm going to add the design style. We're going to have a specific color, that's going to be this one, that is 525B. Okay, and then it's going to have a font weight of 600, font size of 14. Similarly I'm going to add the design for the second one as well. Save the file. We can take a look at the design for the second part, that is accept button. Let's come back to over here. There you go. Just like that, we're getting all of the matches that this user has received over here. Okay, so this part is done. So next we can define the match card. That is going to be pretty simple itself, or we can directly try to add the code now itself. You can take a look at it. So right below this you're going to add the match card, but since that match service is not yet added, because the match functionality code is not yet added within the match service, so it wouldn't work as of now. So yeah, this is the design for the match card. Once you press on the match card, you should be able to go into the chat, and with that particular ID you're gonna chat. You can take a look at the match card. So we're gonna have your avatar again similarly, and we're gonna have your match.matcheduser.name as well as the age, and you're gonna have the tap to chat button towards the rightmost part. Okay, so yes, that's pretty much it, and this is gonna be the right icon over here. Save the file, come back over here. Yeah, so now let's scroll up, and below that we need to also show that animation that we saw in the demo part of the video. That is, if at all any person is matched, we need to show that design animation onto the screen. So let's say right below your scroll view, I'm going to say new match if it is true, and over here I'm going to say match animation. It's going to be in the form of a model. Okay, so here I'm going to say visible is going to be not of new match, and here I'm going to say matched user is going to be equals to your new match dot your matched user. On continue, we're going to take in a function, and over here we're going to say set new match to be of null. On chat, what needs to happen, let's write that. So on chat, take in a function, and over here I'm going to say set new match to be of null, and I'm going to say router.push, the path name is going to be chat and then the match ID. So let's add that right over here. Okay, format once, we need to define the match animation design. So we can create a new component for that within the UI folder. So I'm going to say UI match animation dot tsx. First of all, I'm gonna get in the width, comma your height. That is gonna be coming from your dimensions dot get of window. Okay, I'm gonna say interface props. So first of all, I'm gonna say visible. That is gonna be boolean. Then I'm gonna say your matched user. It's gonna be in the form of a name, string. Okay. Then age is gonna be number. Gender is gonna be string. Alright, next I'm gonna say on continue. Okay, void on chat. It is also gonna be void itself. Okay, here I'm gonna say export function your match animation. This in turn is gonna take in all of the props that we have passed. Visible your matched user, comma on continue, and then on chat. Here I'm gonna say it's gonna be of type props. So here first of all I'm gonna get in all of the required things for the animation part. I'm gonna add the code for that as well. Okay, you can take a look at the animation, how exactly it's gonna work. Okay, so just pasted in the code for the entire animation file. So this file is mostly related to the animation part, that is how exactly the card is going to come up once when two users match. Okay, so the first step is to set the animation state, that is your opacity, your scale, your title, as well as your card scale. So your opacity means it basically fits into the screen. Scale is how exactly it's going to zoom in to your UI, that is onto your phone. Title is your slide up text. So next step is when your animation is going to start, that is going to work in this specific use effect, and all of it is going to be dependent on this visible variable. All right, so this runs only when the match happens. Okay, so step one is going to be your reset value. That is what exactly is happening within the use effect. So it's always going to start from the initial state. Next, we're trying to run the animation sequence. So this is the code for that, and I've added some two values, the duration, and we have to pass in the use native driver is true for everything. Okay, so yeah, so basically it's going to be a mix of fade and then the zoom, and we're also going to show the text plus the cards onto the screen. All right, so that is the design for this. Within the return block, again, we are trying to use your animated.view. It's going to have a darkish kind of background color because that's the reason I've passed in this specific color code. Okay, and we are trying to use some particles over here. So this is just to give a premium feel. These are the floating particles. So particles is being defined over here onto the bottommost part. Okay, this is designed for the particles part. So I've just used some math.random. I've just gotten the code obviously on the internet, and this is just to give the premium feel onto the card. Okay, I'll be showing the code once again, starting from the starting point. So once your particles is done, next we do have is your match text. Okay, so we're going to show it's a match, you both liked each other, and we're going to use the transform for that specific animation. Next you're going to have the avatar cards. After that we're going to have the pulsing heart. Okay, that's the next design. So yeah, next once that's done, we're going to have the buttons as well. These are the buttons which is going to say send a message as well as keep discovering. So that's pretty much it. This is the design for the pulsing heart. So this shows pulsing heart between the two cards. So first of all, let me try to show you the code right from the starting point. If at all you've missed out anything, you can take a look at it, and then if at all you've missed anything, you can take a look at it, and then you can try to copy this down. I'll also be sending the code in the description. You can take a look at it as well. Alright, now that's it. So now let's actually try to give this a try. Let's press on accept, and then let's first of all see what exactly is going to happen. import this match animation and then save the file. So now let's go ahead and then test this feature. That is, let's try to accept the request that is from this particular person, and hopefully if at all we have done everything correctly, we should be a match and we should see that animation working properly fine. So first of all, I hope the on press is given for everything. Let's verify that in the card. As you can see, on accept is there. Okay, so this on accept is coming from this point. Okay, that is coming from this point. So handle respond is already there. Okay, let's just verify if match likes and respond is correct or not. So match service, sorry, controller file. Yeah, it is correct. Match likes, like ID and then respond. So let's verify that once. Over here, come back to your match screen. Okay, so let's press on accept, and boom, just like that, it's a match. These are all the particles. It says you both liked each other, and we can start chatting. Okay, so as of now the chat is not yet implemented. We're going to look into that in just a bit. Okay, so now if we need to implement two more things, as we have forgotten last time, or we have actually missed that last time, that is going to be your the get matches. So the code for the service is not present. Okay, it's already there. Get match is present. Let me verify that once. So yeah, this is the code for get match. So you can take a look at it. So yeah, let's basically understand what happens in this get matches. So as the name suggests, obviously we're going to get the matches for the dating app. So first of all, you're going to fetch the matches from your DB database. Okay, so the way this is going to work is with the help of the OR operator. So we're going to get all of the match records where you are either user 1 or your user 2, because match stores two users. Next is we're going to loop through the matches. That's what we're going to do it over here, and determine who is the other person. Okay, so once we identify the other user ID with the help of this line, so logic is if you're user 1, other is user 2, and if you're user 2, other is going to be user 1. So that's the reason we have written it just like this. So once that happens, we need to fetch the other user profile. So we're going to say await this dot user service dot find by ID of the other ID, and here we're going to use a format response, and we're going to return it based on that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So that's the details we're returning, and once that is there, we're going to clear all of the nulls. That's the reason I've written filter of boolean. This would clear all of the null values and then return all of the required matches to the front end part. So it removes the deleted users as well as the invalid matches. So I've written dot filter of boolean. So final output is you're going to get all the ID, matched at, and then is photo unlocked as well as the matched user details. Okay, that part is done. That's what your get matches is going to do over here. So now let's actually go ahead and then write the next function or the next implementation that is going to be for the chat, such that once when we see all of the matches within the matches screen, and once when you press on any of the profile, we should be able to navigate to the chat screen. So let's create a new module that is going to be chat, and let's start off from the chat services or chat service.ts file. I'm going to say src, and then new folder, I'm going to say chat over here. So first of all, chat.service.ts. Alright, so over here again onto the top, let me import all of the required things, that is injectable, inject model, your model as well as the types. So yeah, there you go. I've just imported all of these things. So schema is missing. We're going to write that in just a bit. Alright, so here I'm going to say at inject injectable. Okay, here I'm going to say export class chat service. Here I'm going to say constructor at inject model of your message.name, and I'm going to say private message model is going to be model of your type message document. Okay, so yeah, that part is done. Here first of all, let's write the function for getting all of the messages. I'm going to say async get messages of your match ID. That is going to be of type string, of type promise, any. Alright, here I'm going to say const messages is going to be equals to, I'm going to say await this dot message model dot, we're going to say find method, we're going to find based on the match ID. So I'm going to say match ID should be new types dot object ID of your match ID. Okay, and I'm going to sort as well, and over here I'm going to say dot sort. Here I'm going to say created at 1 and dot lean as well. Once that's done, let's try to return the messages. So here I'm going to say return messages dot apply the map functionality. Okay, once that's done, take in the value and get in all of the values over here. That is, we're going to get in your ID, your match ID, the sender ID, the text, and if at all they've seen that message, and the created at value. So I'm just gonna get it over here. Okay, format once and save the file. So that's pretty much it with respect to the get messages. Let's write the next one, that is going to be create message. So here we just have three things: get message, create message, as well as seen message. So async create message. This in turn, to create a message we need three things: your text, the person who is sending, and the person who is receiving. So the match ID, the sender ID, so all of them are going to be of string format. Then I'm going to say text string. Okay, here this is going to be promise of any. Here I'm going to say const message is going to be equals to await. Again, similarly, this dot your message model dot, I'm going to use the create method and create that specific message. It's going to be new types dot your object ID of your match ID. Okay, similarly for sender ID, that is going to be your new types dot your object ID of your match ID. Alright, let's also send the text as well over here. So here I'm going to say return ID, that is going to be msg dot underscore ID dot toString. Okay, then here I'm going to say match ID is going to be msg dot your match ID dot toString. Similarly, your sender ID is going to be equals to msg dot your sender ID dot toString. Okay, similarly I'm going to add it for the text seen as well as the created at. So let's go ahead and then add it over here below this. Let's give a format once. So yep, that's pretty much it about your create message. Let's move on to the next one, that is going to be mark scene. So yeah, below this over here I'm going to say async mark scene. This in turn is going to have your match ID, that is going to be of string, user ID, that is going to be of string as well, and here I'm going to say promise void await this dot message model dot update many. Okay, here I'm going to say match ID, it's going to be a new types dot object ID of your match ID. Apart from that, we also need access to the sender ID. So sender ID is going to be equals to, it should not be equal, so I'm going to say new types dot object ID of user ID. Alright, then I'm going to say scene is going to be false. Here I'm going to say scene is going to be true. Okay, so the reason we are doing this is, or the reason we are writing it like this, seen false and seen true is, okay, so we should actually exclude your own messages. That's the reason we are writing it like this. Okay, hope you got that part. So we're actually going to ignore the messages you sent and only the target messages sent by the other person. And whatever are already seen messages, we are not going to touch that. We're going to mark it as false only. Okay, that's the reason we've written seen as false. So that's a basic understanding of what this does. Let's try to save the file. Let's create the schema basically, that is message.schema.ts file. So here I'm going to say message.schema.ts. Here I'm just going to import all of the required things, and over here I'm going to say export type message document is going to be equals to message and document. Okay, here I'm going to say add schema, timestamps is going to be true. Alright, then here I'm going to say export class message, and over here I'm going to say add prop, type is going to be types.object id, and reference is going to be with respect to the match, required is going to be true. Similarly, yeah, we need to pass in the match id over here. So match id is going to be equals to your types.object id. Next I'm going to say prop. Here I'm going to say type is going to be your types.object id, reference is going to be to your user, required is going to be true. Sender id, here I'm going to say types.object id at prop, here we're going to say required is going to be true. Okay, then over here I'm going to say text, it's going to be of type string. So similarly I've just added it for the other remaining ones, that is seen, as well as I've exported the message schema over here as well. Okay, so yeah, save the file, that part is done. Let's quickly write down your controller file. So chat.controller.ts, it's pretty simple. So come back over here, I'm going to say chat, new file, chat.controller.ts. okay, here I'm going to import all of the required things onto the top, that is controller, get, param, use guard, also JWT auth guard, as well as your chat service. So you can take a look at it, and over here I'm going to say add controller with respect to the chat. Okay, so everything is going to be chat and then / whatever endpoint we're going to write. So here I'm going to say export class chat controller. Okay, here I'm going to say constructor private chat service, that is going to be of chat service. Okay, include that correctly. And here I'm going to say add use guards of your JWT auth guard. It's going to be the get method, it's going to be your match id / your messages. Okay, here we're going to say get messages of add param of your match id. Alright, here we're going to say match id is going to be of type string, and we're going to say return this dot your chat service dot get messages of that specific match id. Okay, that's pretty much it about your controller file. Save this as well, save that message schema, and also let's try to import message over here. Okay, save the file, this is done. Let's write the chat module, that's the final step. So I'm going to say chat.module.ts file. Okay, so here we're going to say at module. This in turn is going to have in your imports, which in turn is going to have your mongoose module dot for feature. here we're going to say name message dot name, and your schema is going to be a message schema. Okay, so that part is done. Here we are going to say providers that's required. Here it's going to have two things, chat service as well as the chat gateway. Here I'm going to say chat service and chat gateway. That is not yet written. We're going to write the code for that. So chat gateway, and it's also going to have your controllers as well. That is going to be chat controller. Let's try to export the value. I'm going to say directly export class your chat module. Alright, save the file. Let's go ahead and then write the code for that. That is chat gateway. So I'm going to create a new file, chat.gateway.ts. That's the final step over here. So it's going to be chat.gateway.ts. I'm going to import all of the required things. Alright, so before proceeding, let's first of all understand what exactly we're going to write over here in the chat gateway.ts. So this is basically, you can consider as, let's say, a WebSocket gateway in NestJS. So it obviously enables real-time chat, no HTTP polling, and instant message delivery. So we can see the messages in real time. Okay, so first of all, let's try to import the required things. I'm going to import a bunch of things from your NestJS WebSockets as well as NestJS/GWT. So yeah, just make sure to import all of these things. We're going to use all of this in the specific screen. So the first step is to initialize the WebSocket gateway. Let's do that. So for that, we are directly going to say add WebSocket gateway. This in turn is going to take in the course. Okay, which in turn is going to take in your origin, and I'm going to provide star. Okay, so this means that we are trying to open a WebSocket server and it allows connections from any origin. That's the reason we have entered star over there. So now the next step is to give access to the Socket.io server, which is used to emit events to the clients. So let's go ahead and then do that. So over here, I'm going to say export class your chat gateway implements on gateway connection, comma on gateway disconnect. We're going to use these two built-in methods. Here we're going to include that add WebSocket server, and your server is going to be your server. Okay, so here I'm going to say private connected users is going to be in the form of a map. So I'm going to say new map of string, comma your string. Okay, and here I'm going to make use of a constructor. Here we're going to say private chat service and include that as well. Private JWT service, include that as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's give a format once and then let's try to save the file. Now let's actually write the function that is async handle connection. So what exactly happens when a user connects? So we need to log that to the console, right? So here I'm going to say async handle connection of your socket of type socket. Here let's try to have a try catch block. So try catch, and here I'm going to say socket.disconnect. So within the try block over here, I'm going to say const token is going to be equals to your socket dot handshake. Use that method dot your auth dot token. So if not of token present, I'm directly going to say socket dot disconnect, and you're directly going to return from the function So once that's done, we're going to calculate the payload if at all we do have the token and if at all a user is connected. So yes, let's just try to add it over here, format the document, save the file. Okay, so just fix that issues. There was some syntax errors, that is with respect to the brackets. I've just fixed that, and now you should be able to see the errors gone. So now next, let's try to implement your handle disconnect method. So here I'm going to say handle disconnect. Okay, this is going to be socket of type socket. Here what we're going to do is I'm going to say this dot connected users dot delete of that specific socket ID. So I'm going to say socket.id, and we're going to log it as well. So console.log, make use of backticks. I'm going to say socket disconnected $socket.id, that is with that specific ID. All right. So next over here, I'm going to say add subscribe message. This is going to be for joining the room, that is to join a chat room with two users. Here I'm going to say handle join room. Here it's going to have your message body. Okay, so your data is going to have in your match ID of type string, and add connection socket, it's going to have in your socket of type socket. All right, here what we're going to do is we're going to say socket.join of your data dot your match ID, and we're going to log it over here. So let's just try to log it and then save the file. So next, similarly, I'm going to add it for the subscribe message, that is going to be for handle leave room. Okay, this was for handle join room, this is for handle leave room. So again, similarly, we're going to have these two things, and instead of socket.join, we're going to say socket.leave of that specific match ID. All right, so that's it. This part is done. Next is to send the message. Okay, so let's try to add it over here. The first line, this is going to say send message. So send underscore message. All right, I'm going to say async handle message at your message body. Data is going to be equals to your match ID of type string. Text is going to be of type string. Okay, so add connected socket. Socket is going to be of type socket. So once that's done, here I'm going to say const sender ID is going to be equals to socket dot data dot user ID, and check the condition stating that if not of sender ID or not of data dot your match ID or not of data dot your text dot stem. So here these are some basic conditions to actually implement sending a message, because if at all of these are not present, we cannot implement it. Okay, all of these needs to be present. If at all they're not present, then directly return from the function. Okay, if at all of them are present, let's create a message. It's going to be equals to await. It's going to be equals to this dot access your service, that is going to be chat service dot create message. It's going to take in three things: data dot your match ID, okay, your sender ID, as well as your data dot text dot trim. Okay, that's it. So once that's done, we need to broadcast also this to everyone in that specific room. As of now, we are only going to have two, that's the user as well as the receiver. So here I'm going to say this dot server. We have dot to method, that's going to be data dot your match ID dot emit with respect to new underscore message comma your message. Okay, so that's pretty much it about your send message. Next is going to be for the mark scene. So let's go and then write that part. So I'm just going to have the initial boilerplate code. Again, add subscribe message. It's going to be mark scene. You're going to have async function called as handle mark scene. This in turn is going to take in two things: your match ID as well as the socket. All right, here first of all I'm going to say const user ID is going to be equals to your socket dot data dot your user ID. And here I'm going to say if not of user ID, then directly try to return from the function. If we have that data, I'm going to say await this dot your chat service dot mark scene of data dot your match ID and your user ID. Okay, once that's done, again let's try to broadcast. So this dot server dot to of your data dot your match ID dot emit. It's gonna be your messages underscore scene. You're gonna pass in your match ID, comma your this is gonna be your data dot match ID as well as your user ID. Okay, that's pretty much it. You can try to import your chat gateway as well. Save the file, save, and then we also need to include it within the main app.module.ts. That is your chat module. That's not yet added, I believe. Let's check that out once. Yeah, here below this I'm going to say chat module. That's the final step, and then save. So you should be able to see all of them getting loaded properly fine and no more issues. That's pretty good. It's working properly fine. Alright, so this part is done. So now first of all, let's actually try to implement the chat based functionality. Okay, so if at all I press on send a message, obviously it's going to error out because we do not have a chat folder. So let's create that. So let's press on app, new folder, chat, and this should be id.tsx. I'm going to say match id dot tsx. Okay, here let's start writing the code for this part. Okay, so on the top I'm going to first of all import my interface. Okay, so here we are going to say interface message. So id is going to be string, and your match id is going to be string as well. Sender id is going to be string. Okay, text is going to be string. Scene is going to be boolean. Alright, then next you're going to have your created at. So created at is going to be string. That's done. Let's try to export our chat screen. So I'm going to say export default function chat screen. Here I'm going to say const match id comma name comma your gender is going to be equals to use local search params. It's going to come from the previous screen. So your match id is going to be of string. Next, your name is going to be of string as well. Next, finally, your gender. Okay, next that's done. We're going to have a bunch of states for messages, text, loading, my id, sending, and then we're going to have two more refs for your socket ref as well as your flat list ref for the messages. So I'm just going to add all of these states over here. Import use state from React, use ref from React as well, flat list also, socket from socket.io client. Save the file. So yeah, once this is done, I'm going to have the use effect being initialized. I'm going to say use effect, and once the user reaches the screen, we need to mark them as online. Here I'm going to say init. So we need to have this function called init. Let's write that properly. Okay, so once that's done, here I'm going to say return your socket ref dot current dot emit. This is going to be for leave room, and it's gonna have in your match ID. Now let's go ahead and then write that function init. I'm gonna say async function init, no params for now. So here I'm gonna say first of all get the current user ID from the token. So const token is gonna be equals to await your secure store. So make sure to import that, basically your secure store. This is gonna be your .get item async of your access token. So I'm gonna say access underscore token. Here check the condition stating that if token is present, then over here I'm gonna say const payload is gonna be equals to json dot parse. Make use of the itop function. I'm gonna say token dot split with the help of the dot and access your first part. That is gonna be after the bearer. Here I'm gonna say set my ID to be of your payload dot sub. Alright, that's done. Now next step is to load the existing messages, whatever they have done. So here let's try to have in your try catch block. So try catch of error. I'm gonna say console dot error is gonna be error, and finally I'm gonna say set loading to be of false. Okay, within the try block it's pretty simple to get the messages. We already have written the endpoint for that. So const data is gonna be equals to await API, import that dot get method, make use of your URL /chat $$ match ID /messages. Alright, once that's done, here we are gonna say set messages to be of your data. Cool, this is done. Now the next step is to connect the socket. So below this I'm gonna say const socket is gonna be equals to await, make use of the get socket method from the lib folder. Okay, let me just show you that file, libconstants.ts. Okay, so this is going to be the get socket. Okay, my bad, not the constants file, your socket.ts file. This is going to be a get socket method. We've already written this previously. Okay, so come back to your id.tsx file. Yeah, once we have that set refreshing, okay, this is matches, my bad. Yeah, so once we have that get socket, below that we're gonna say socket ref dot current is gonna be equals to your socket, and I'm gonna emit two things. One is join room and then the mark scene. I'm gonna say join underscore room comma your match ID. Next we're gonna say socket dot emit of your mark underscore scene with respect to the match ID. Okay, here we're gonna say socket dot on. It's gonna be new underscore message. Okay, and here the message is gonna be of type message, and I'm essentially gonna say set messages to be of previous. Okay, here I'm gonna say const exists is gonna be equals to your previous dot find for every value. Just check if all ID is same. If m.id is equals to the msg.id. If it is true, I'm gonna say if exists, then I'm gonna say return the previous, else return whatever is there. So make use of those things. So spread operator, and then I'm gonna say msg. Okay, that's it. And I'm gonna make use of my sets timeout as well, and we're gonna scroll to end. We're gonna provide in some time as well for that. So yes, let me just add it right over here. Format. Okay, my bad. This should come within your new message method right below this. Once that's done, here I'm gonna say socket.on. It's gonna be message underscore scene. Here I'm gonna say set messages to be of your previous value. Here I'm gonna say previous dot map. So here include all of them, and then I'm gonna say mark the scene as true. And apart from this, I'm also going to add in two more things over here, that is your async function send message as well as the avatar emoji. You can take a look at it. That's pretty much it. Let's try to save the file. Once that's done, here we can try to return the design, that is your safe area view. So here I'm going to say return your safe area view, import it from safe area context, pass on the class name, that is going to be a flex of 1, and then a bg zinc of 950. Let's provide the header over here. I'm going to say view. So yes, import view from React Native. This is basically going to show your back button. I'm just going to get the design for that, and I'm also going to show the design for the avatar emoji. So let's add it straight up over here. Import pressable router. So this is basically a back button, and also let's import text from React Native. Okay, we have three things: back button, your avatar emoji, that's going to look something like this. If it is a male, then show that male emoji. If it is a female, show a female emoji. And then we're going to have a text which is going to say matched on chance. Okay, let's save the file. Okay, so this design is done. So now the next step is to show the designs, that is the messages. So below the view, I'm going to say for all it is loading, question mark, show a view. Within that, we are going to have your activity indicator from React Native. Pass on the color for this. It's going to have a specific color code, EC4899. Okay, and let's pass on the class name for this as well. Give it a flex of 1, items of center, and then justify of center as well. So here let's try to use in the keyboard avoiding view. Okay, let's pass on the design for this. So class name, give it a flex of 1, items of center, justify of center as well. Okay, my bad, I'm just copying it for the previous one. So yeah, it's gonna have that behavior. Yeah, so it's gonna have flex of 1, that's present. Next, it's gonna have the behavior one. We're gonna check the platform.os. Here I'm gonna say platform.os. If it is equals to iOS, question mark, it's gonna be padding, else it's gonna be height. Okay, then apart from that, I'm gonna say keyboard. Then apart from that, I'm gonna say keyboard vertical offset is gonna be 0. So within this, I'm gonna make use of my flat list directly. So I'm gonna say flat list. This is gonna have a reference. So I'm gonna say ref is gonna be equals to your flat list ref. Data is gonna be equals to messages. Your key extractor is gonna be equals to, it's gonna have a value, and I'm gonna say m.id, and content container style, let's provide in the padding of 15 or 16, gap of 8, and your padding bottom of 8 as well. Okay, so apart from that, we're going to give on content size change what needs to happen. So on content size change, taking a function, and I'm going to use the flat list ref basically. So flat list ref dot your current dot scroll to end. Here I'm going to say animated is going to be equals to false. Okay, then here I'm going to say list empty component. Here having a view, which in turn is going to have in a text. I'm going to get the design for that because that's an icon. Here I'm going to have text as well, which is going to say you matched with. Text over here. Here I'm going to say something. I'm going to say new line and no hair left. I'm going to get the design for that. So is this the design for the view, the text, and both of the other two texts? Next, it's going to have a render item method. Let's try to add in that. So render item, this in turn is going to take in the item, restructure that, and over here let's try to have a message bubble component. Okay, is me, that is a prop. I'm going to say item dot sender id is going to be equals to my id. Okay, and message is going to be equals to your item. Okay, so we're going to define that, and let's try to show the input, that is your text input to write the code. Here we're going to have your text input imported from React Native. This in turn is going to take in a value that is going to be text, which is already defined. On change text, we need to change it. It's going to be set text. Placeholder is going to say something. Okay, and placeholder text color is going to be equals to hashtag 525 and then 25p. I'm going to say multi-line. Max length is going to be equals to 500. Let's pass on the style for this. I'm going to give it a flex of 1, bg color of 1a 1a and then 1a. Border width of 1, border color of 2a 2a 2a, border radius of 20, padding horizontal of 16, padding vertical of let's say 10, color of triple F, font size of let's say 15, and a max height of 100. And we're also going to implement the on submit editing, that is once you enter the text and press on enter, automatically the message should be sent. Okay, next we have that button, pressable button. It's pretty simple. Let's implement that. So here I'm going to say pressable. This in turn is going to have a text which is going to show that send button. Okay, I'm going to design that in just a bit. On press is going to be send message. Disabled is going to be equals to not of text dot trim or sending. Okay, now the style for this, you can try to have a look at the styles. I've just copied down the styles. Pause for a moment and then take a look at it. So let's try to save. Okay, let's try to define that message bubble functionality. That is gonna come over here, function message bubble, 2 parameters, message as well as is me. Message is gonna be of type message and is me is gonna be of type boolean. Okay, here I'm gonna say const time is gonna be equals to your new date of your message dot created at dot converted into to local time string. Okay, and pass on the format that we're going to use. Har is going to be 2-digit and minute is going to be 2-digit as well. Okay, that's it. Here let's try to return the view. I'm going to say return. Let's pass on the view for this. Within this we're going to have one more piece of view, where we are going to show the text. That is going to be your message.text. Pass on the class name for that or some internal styling itself. Here we're going to say color, that is going to be FFF, font size of let's say 15, line height of 20. Okay, that part is done. So below the view, I'm going to have in one more piece of view. This in turn is going to have a text, and over here we're going to pass on the time, class name, sorry, my bad, style again. This is going to have a specific color, hashtag 52525B. Okay, then font size of let's say 11, and I'm going to enter the design for the single tick or double tick. Okay, if at all is me is true and message.scene, then it's going to be single tick, else it's going to be a double tick, else it's going to be a single tick. And that's the design for this. Let's add the design for the topmost part. So style over here, align self, if is me is true, then flex and it's going to come towards the rightmost part, else it's going to be flex start. Okay, so max width I'm going to give for the message, it should not exceed basically 78% of the screen width. Next is margin vertical of 2. Here I'm going to say style. So background color, if is me is true, then it's going to be this color code, EC4899, else it's going to be hashtag 1A and then 1A. Next is going to be your border radius, that is going to be 18. Then border bottom right radius, so border bottom right radius, this is the one. Again, if it is me, it's going to be 4 question mark 4, else it is going to be 18. Border bottom left radius is me 18, if not 4. Okay, padding horizontal is going to be 14 and padding vertical is going to be 10. Okay, border width is going to be, if it's is me, then 0, else it's going to be 1. Border color is going to be hashtag 2A and then 2A. That's pretty much it. Okay, let's try to save the file. So let's actually check out the matches and then let's make this work. I think I forgot to add the style for the view. That is for the second part, format once. Hopefully we should be able to see the matches. Okay, so currently it's showing empty. Any issues in the backend? Right, no issues over here as well. Let's try to fix this up and then let's try to test out this feature. So the reason the matches is not coming is because we have not written the code for that. We've only written the code for the likes.length. So yeah, make that change. That's gonna come right below your likes. Okay, so this is basically your like card. So where we have the likes.length, here above we can write the condition and now it should work properly fine. So matches.length, if it is greater than 0, and over here I'm gonna render a view. Within that it's gonna have a text. Okay, so here we're gonna show the design for the matches. I'm gonna get the design for that, and here I'm gonna say matches dot apply the map function for every match. Okay, here I'm gonna show the match card. The match card has already been designed previously. I'll show the code again. Pass on the key, that is gonna be equals to your match.id, and your match information itself, that's gonna be equals to match. So for your view, I'm gonna give it some empty, that is empty 6, margin top of 6. Okay, so I'm just gonna add the design for this. This is gonna contain that icon and the matches.length, and if at all matches.length is equals to 1, it's gonna be match, else matches. Format once, and then let's try to save the file. You should be able to see the design being shown correctly fine. There you go. Just like that, we do have one match. Once you press on this, automatically you should be navigated to the chat screen. Okay, so yeah, the design is messed up. We need to fix that up. So where we have the chat match id.tsx, and where we have the input, yeah, I think for the view we have not given the design. That's the reason it's kind of erroring out. Let's go ahead and then fix that. This is the design, so let's pass on the style equals. I'm gonna say flex direction of row. Okay, then we're gonna have align items of flex end. Apart from that, padding horizontal of 16, padding vertical of 12, border top width of 0.5, border top color of this color code, that is 2A, 2A, 2A. Gap is gonna be of 10. Save the file. Okay, so this is still kind of messed up. I think there is some issue with respect to how we have designed this. I'm just gonna grab my entire safe area view and then change it. Let's see what exactly is the issue. Okay, save the file. There you go. Just like that, this is working fine. So you can take a look at this code right from the starting point we're gonna use, and you're gonna stick with this one. Okay, no more extra code has been added, just the brackets have been changed here and there. And yeah, apart from that, it's pretty much. So there you go, you matched with Nisha, and we are gonna say something genuine. So let's say I'm gonna say, hey, good morning, something like this, and send. Okay, so for some reason the messages are not being shown. Let's try to reload once. Let's see what exactly happens. Okay, so for some reason the messages are not being shown onto the screen. Just verifying the messages, but as you can see, the message is not yet sent actually, so that's the reason it is not working fine. Let's verify the create message method once. I think that's the issue. I'm gonna check my code from the project. Let's see where exactly is that issue. All right, so where we have that chat.service.ts, let me go there. Okay, I think I got to know the issue. So sender ID should be equals to your new types.object of your sender ID, not the match ID. Make that change. Save the file. Let's try this one more time. Reload. Come back to this. New chat. I'm gonna say hey, send. Okay, it's still not coming. Let's verify it over here. Reload the collection once. Nope, still it's not working. Let's check out any backend logs. So I guess there is some issue with the socket connection, and for that I'm not sure it's not working. The message functionality is right, that is for sure. Let's check out over here. I'm gonna add few logs. Format. Okay, so there you go. That's the reason it's not working. So socket ID is undefined, and there is a socket connection error. So yeah, this is the issue. Let's go ahead and then fix this. Let's come back to the previous state. Save the file. Okay, so just change the code over here, and there you go. It's working properly fine. It's saying connecting sockets to this link as well as socket connected, and we do have the socket ID. So the change we have made is we have added the polling instead of WebSocket. So we basically changed the transport order from WebSockets to polling in the WebSocket. So this actually makes the socket start from HTTP polling, and we also added a promise that waits for the connection to succeed. That is gonna happen over here before returning the socket, so that the chat screen doesn't try to join a room or send message before the socket is actually ready. Let's give this a try. I'm gonna send a new hey message. There you go. Just like that, is working fine. That was the issue, that is the socket was not getting connected, and now we have fixed this with this piece of code. So as the real time is going to work, I've already tested it on my other device. Okay, so you can test this feature out, and obviously we do have nothing much in the profile. Just log out. Okay, you should be brought back to your main welcome screen. So that's it about this project. This was a very simple, beginner friendly project, and we have completed implementing this end to end. If you found this interesting, please do the like button and do subscribe for more such content. So let's see you in the next project, and then thank you for watching.